Alright, what's going on YouTube? TaToH versus MbL, best of 5 over here on Collection Cup $2,500 prize pool event hosted by Locoser. There is no special settings. The tournament is very standard in terms of setup. We're going to open with TaToH, Vikings on Arabia in red, and left side is going to be Chinese. It's not Chinese, it's Mayans for MbL in yellow. Before we actually had this cut off for the YouTube, I was discussing that MbL, I felt like he had a way better draft. He's got Chinese available, he's got Mayans available, he's got Burgundians available even. It was somewhat predictable that TaToH goes for Vikings on Arabia, but both Chinese and Mayans are very good answers to them. Both of them have an economy that's comparable to the Vikings, so they are not actually that much in trouble. I think the two civilizations, maybe there's 3 civilizations that can potentially match up against the economy or the efficiency of Vikings on Arabia currently. One of them is Mayans, the other one's Chinese, and then probably the third one could be Burgundians. Any other civilization is gonna fall behind massively compared to Vikings in economy, and that is why Vikings are so dangerous. So the fact that MbL had both Chinese and Mayans available is a very good sign for him, and I was also thinking about maybe TaToH using a different civ on Arabia, knowing that Vikings could be much better used on Golden Swamp. Anyways, MbL is a big lamer boy, and this is a dream scenario for him. Come on, MbL, do it for the fans. Do it for the fans. That's one boar. Is he gonna go for the other as well? No. Sag. I can hear the discontent among the viewers because this would have been an excellent opportunity. And honestly, MbL, he is a big lamer. If there is anyone that can pull off a double boar lame like that, that's gonna be MbL. Speaking of pulling off lames, there is TaToH coming in with the scout, so this might end up being an absolute disaster for MbL. TaToH quickly lured in his second boar, just to ensure that MbL can't lame it. But it very much seems like MbL is gonna be able to pull this one off. TaToH misjudged the angle. The boar starts to become very far from that eagle. MbL needs to slow down here, otherwise the boar is gonna de-aggro. It's very close. It is very close. That is only a 10 HP eagle now. Now you have to change things for MbL. You have to shoot it with the villager and then just run back with the eagle. MbL is gonna pull that one off. Very nice lame over there. There is no laming restrictions, and you know that MbL is gonna use the opportunity if given against Vikings that have a powerful economy, with Mayans where you can heal up your eagle inside your TC. This is an absolutely enormous move here for MbL. Now, speaking of MbL, he didn't find 2 of his cows over here, and overall we have cows. Oh yeah, I don't have scoreboard up, whoops. It's best of 5, by the way. So the fact that you have cows over here gives you a little bit more food from herdables, which sort of contains a bit from the damage that TaToH has suffered from, but nonetheless, losing one boar here is a massive disaster for TaToH. Added to the fact that, as I said, MbL is gonna have longer lasting resources of Mayans, and this is an absolute dream for MbL here. So, TaToH might actually bump into one cow, which will help compensate a little bit. Nope. TaToH is very unlucky here. TaToH is super duper unlucky, because you see that by the time he's gonna get here to find these cows, they're gonna be back at home, and MbL is gonna be all good. Maybe he will lose one cow or anything, but this is an excellent start for MbL. 10 out of 10, basically. Now, MbL is gonna have to be very careful not to lose the eagle, but he will be able to avoid losing that. One of the reasons why is because TaToH turned back upon seeing this straggler tree, but that was a bit of a debate. This is interesting to talk about, that maybe TaToH felt like, okay, this is a straggler tree, so I'm getting close to the TC, I won't commit more. Speaking of committing, he also didn't manage to scout the barracks. Once again, the timing was just very unlucky for TaToH, I don't blame him for it. When he passed over here, the barracks wasn't there, and it very much seems like MbL is gonna open with what seems to be a late rush. Because he still isn't clicking up, it's actually gonna be a very late rush. And I'm not necessarily a fan of using the low HP eagle around here. MbL still hasn't found one of his cows over here on the left side. But, oh, he's preparing. This is a preemptive with rush defense. Interesting. That is quite unconventional from MbL, but it very much seemed like he was preparing for a drush from TaToH, but it didn't actually arrive. Now, considering that TaToH lost one of his boards early on, a drush might not actually make sense for him. In general, Vikings don't get any bonus for their drush because they don't have a Dark Age eco bonus, they no longer get the extra HP on their militias in Dark Age, so really, drushing with Vikings is not necessarily something that's very, very useful. Mostly people do it because if you drush, you can do drush fast castle, but it seems like TaToH's gonna play straight archers here. He has walled in all of his villagers, so he probably expects some sort of aggression to come in from MbL. MbL's coming drush archers, but at this pace, if he can keep all of those militias with a fairly high HP, it could make quite a lot of sense to even upgrade them to men-at-arms, I guess. So, I like this preemptive defense here from TaToH. He was definitely expecting some sort of aggression here. Meanwhile, MbL, well, he didn't have the cow here. He pushed in quite a lot of deer, and I appreciate that. Some extra deer to work with is always nice to have. And this is going to allow him to probably even get horse color before dropping farms. So, I have to say that this start is amazing for MbL here. So just look at those resources, that is absolutely crazy. Meanwhile, the militias are just chilling around, seeing what TaToH is doing, but we're gonna have the archers popping out. TaToH gets housed for a moment, but that problem has been resolved, and there is the archer range coming in here from MbL. Bidax on the way as well. No horse color just yet, and look at MbL. He's going for preemptive skirmishers. In the meanwhile, it looks like we're gonna have TaToH finding this cow over here. So that's -1 for MbL, but MbL still pushed in deer, and MbL still had an extra boar. TaToH didn't push in a deer because he was busy chasing down the laming scout. These militias will no longer be super duper useful, although a couple of skirmishers could definitely help. And eagles will be mixed in. I like that quite a bit. I like that quite a bit. Because this way you can deal with the archers or even skirmishers quite nicely, and that's an extra dimension that a Meso Civ or an American Civ can add to you. Nice move from TaToH to use the scout to snipe down the low HP eagle, but still, MbL with militias, skirms, and eagles, this is a devastating force. I would dare to say that when you have this many skirms around, and you even have eagles, a men-at-arms upgrade could make sense here, because these militias could still prove to be a pretty powerful addition to your army. Here come the eagles. TaToH is so busy fighting that he didn't actually do anything with the eagle right now. Nice micro from him, using the archers to focus down the militias, and the scout to kill the skirms for the time being. TaToH's goldmine, however, is very exposed, so he can't afford to run away here, and this is the problem that you're facing. Archers versus skirmishers would be an alright situation if it wasn't against Mayans, because with Mayans as your opponent, you can just mix in your own skirms to deal with the skirms of MbL, because he's just gonna destroy you with his eagles. So, eagle skirms is going to be better than whatever Vikings can do, and you see that TaToH already has quite a lot of harassment on his veils. It's going to show in idle time, but that's basically it for the time being. It's interesting that this type of gameplay wasn't that common in random map before, and Empire Wars sort of popularized this super aggressive, keep pumping in eagles as well style play. So this is something that was sort of brought in by Empire Wars, especially when you see that your opponent is Viking, so he has a very, very one-dimensional army with archers. You can preemptively go skirms and eagles. Now, TaToH was preparing a switch into cavalry here to steamroll this army, but when you force a Viking player to go into cavalry, that's already sort of a big achievement, I would say. And MbL is going to see the scouts, so now he knows what's up. He's gonna yoink one scout away, very nicely done. And for now, he's gonna retreat for the hill. Skirms for MbL do have +1/+1. TaToH's archers only have +1 attack. And for his scouts, he doesn't have a single upgrade right now. The eagles are also unupgraded entirely. Speaking of MbL, he doesn't have horse color, but that's not something that TaToH has either. So it could have been something that either of them squeeze in, but neither of them was really willing to do so. So mobility advantage is going to be on the side of TaToH a little bit here with the scouts. And unlike MbL does in the majority of the cases, this time he is not walled. And that could be the first villager casualty of the game, because that villager is very much isolated. MbL will try to run back, TaToH blocks, and that is one villager dead for MbL. There goes his one extra villager from being Mayans. Scale barring coming in for TaToH as MbL goes for a second range. This is the moment where you indeed switch back into archers if you're MbL, because your opponent is going cavalry, so you probably just want to start adding archers and just outnumber your opponent with it. MbL also brings in an eagle, an archer, and a skirmisher to push this gold mine, but it is just going to be a little too late, because there is already a defensive tower up for TaToH. A defensive tower, however, would also mean that he can't add additional TCs easily at the beginning of Castle Age, so he will probably switch back to crossbows and go fast ballistics, which makes quite a lot of sense when you can't afford additional TCs. So, looking at resources though, both players getting close to clicking up to Castle Age over here, MbL finishing with his walls. He's not on stone yet, but he's got a super safe stone mine over here, so I could see him moving to stone relatively early, so that he can work towards plumed archers. He's gonna get a defensive tower up on his gold mine as well, out of necessity here, as the archers move in. The scouts are now pretty sturdy. They have a +1 defense, and MbL is gonna pull a bunch of vills to fight this, or just rush up the tower. Uh-oh, this could be a little bit troublesome for MbL here, because those scouts are pretty tanky. Another vill goes down, and that is -2 vills for the Mayans player. Not something that's very ideal, by any means. Because, well, obviously, it's not the end of the world either. The fact that you're up against Vikings and you lose 2 villagers is not something that you're happy about. When you're facing Vikings, you really need to make sure you don't lose vills. Otherwise, the Vikings economy is just gonna be skyrocketing and yours will be stuck quite heavily. So, against such a strong economy opponent, you really need to ensure that you don't lose that many vills. Not the end of the world, as I said, for MbL, but less than ideal either. So, he is going to keep adding skirms and archers. It's going to be a combination of both. And I can see MbL either going for... Like, he's going to go crossbow, that's for sure. But I think he can mix in elite skirm as well. Would make quite a lot of sense with this many skirms on the field. He's going to have the resources for that. So, gold is actually a bit of a problem for MbL. He only has 66 gold in the bank, which is not even enough for Botkin Arrow. As MbL is going to start mining his front stone. This is an awkward decision from MbL because he's a much safer stone mine over there. I don't mind it because currently the defensive tower is going to help and he's the one pushing, so it's not necessarily a problem. But this could be a problematic stone spot eventually. So MbL is gonna go for super eco upgrade heavy, and look at this. Immediate handcart. He knows exactly he's against Vikings, so he realizes the importance of having handcart for entire Castle Age. I love this decision from MbL. He even prioritizes handcart over crossbowman. Also, he didn't have the gold for those upgrades anyways, but I really like how he's going for such an eco-heavy play, because handcart being there is already a massive boost to your farmers, and one of the reasons why Vikings are so powerful is because their farmers are super efficient thanks to the free handcart immediately. TaToH's gonna go full elite skirms here, which might prompt an eagle switch from MbL for the time being. For now, MbL is not really investing a lot into his army. No crossbowmen, no elite skirm upgrade just yet for him. No university for ballistics. He just wants to boom, because he knows he's up against Vikings. TaToH's gonna have a different approach though this time. He isn't adding any additional town centers. He's just adding knights, and he will be doing crossbows. There's the university for the ballistics. So MbL will need his crossbowman. He will probably need his elite skirm as well, so that he has something to deal with the elite skirms of his opponent. There's a second TC up, so eventually the ecos would be even, and TaToH's just gonna run straight into MbL's eco here with a scout and the knight. Quick walls come in. Thank you so much for a raid line for the 5 months of support. I appreciate it a lot. As TaToH actually uses these 2 units as a diversion. That's a smart strategy from TaToH. He sent these 2 cavalry units in that forced MbL, or at least made MbL, chase them. And in the same time, TaToH sent in the crossbows and the elite skirms on the gold mine. It didn't actually manage to kill a single vill up until now, as this villager is randomly walking around. Not sure what this lady is up to, but she's about to die. So that's minus 3 wheels for MbL now. Down by 4 at this point. But the bigger problem for MbL is the consistency of the gold income. Because at this point MbL has 6 on gold with Mayans, and Mayans are pretty gold heavy as a civilization. TaToH moves in here with the crossbows and the lead skirms, and that could be another villager killed here thanks to ballistics. Meanwhile, knights on the right side coming in as well. MbL finds another gold mine over here, so he definitely knows he needs to fix his gold income. And for him, a defensive siege workshop could be an idea, because at this point, he doesn't really have a good answer to elite skirms. So speaking of elite skirms, they will just decide to run past the TC over here. MbL is going for his own elite skirm right now, but he doesn't have +2 defense, he doesn't have elite skirm just yet, so this is a fight that MbL should not take. In fact, that's an awful fight. So MbL kind of felt like he needed to take that fight because otherwise these elite skirms run into his eco, but this shouldn't even have been an opportunity for TaToH in the first place. I think MbL just played this one a little too greedy when it comes to economy. I don't blame him doing that against Vikings because he's probably afraid of the Viking player outbooming him, but at this point he's down 5 villagers because he just keeps losing will after will to the skirms of his opponent. A barracks will be added here to try and switch into a couple of egos still with these elite skirms. TaToH already securing a forward siege workshop here though, and look at TaToH moving in once again. Just keeps picking off villagers, and that is why even though MbL was on 3 TCs and TaToH was on just 1, the villager count is dead even, as that is going to be villager number 6 and 7 already picked off. TaToH is picking apart the economy of MbL right now. On the other hand, if MbL finds a way to stabilize, he will still have the chance to outboom his opponent. The efficiency of the economy is actually surprisingly close, despite the fact that, technically speaking, TaToH's eco is completely untouched. Here comes the siege workshop for a mangonel. I think, MbL's massing a lot of eagles. That's a huge amount of eagles, and that could quickly turn the tide of the battle. Because Vikings, even though they can technically go for knights, that's not gonna be super efficient in the long run. And what's even better is that it would take quite a lot of time for Vikings to add anything other than knights to deal with the eagles. Still, MbL only has 4 on gold, which makes it much more problematic for him to switch into eagles. And if he doesn't have the good numbers, a couple of knights will still be able to deal with them. Only +1 defense will be there on the eagles. And this is where I would channel it back to the stone mine, by the way, as TaToH will apparently run into the eco of MbL once again. I did mention that this stone mine could be very problematic for MbL, and it actually became problematic. And now he had to go back to this stone mine. Now Mangonels with the heal advantage firing at MbL's TC. MbL just can't catch a breath. Wherever I'm looking at, TaToH is just overrunning him with more army. Now, he's waiting. He's playing AoE freestyle over here. Just waiting, and waiting until he can pop out the eagles. Time is running short here because this TC is about to go down with the Ram and Mangonel approaching. And it very much seems like that will be the end of 10 more vills here. But on the other hand, if MbL gets his eagles in here, he could easily launch a counterattack, and that would be very devastating against TaToH. And MbL is also preparing to go for a defensive castle. If he gets a defensive castle up around this area, he's gonna be all good. The knights will now break in. MbL has lost 19 vills in this game, so now he's behind by 12. And this is what I was referring to. I think he went for a little bit too heavy of a boom in here. Against Vikings, it's a very, very hard decision to make and to balance your spendings in here. As here comes MbL, he's moving in to snipe the Mangonel. This is a bad fight for MbL though. He wasn't able to snipe the Mangonel. This is a horrendous fight for MbL. As good as his start was, this was a disaster like the last 5 minutes. And indeed, he taps out. He was fighting up hills, he wasn't able to snipe the Mangonel. I don't know what to think about this game. The first 10 minutes of the game was perfect for MbL. But then everything after just fell apart. Piece by piece, TaToH just tore apart MbL. Maybe if MbL doesn't go for 3 TCs, instead goes for 2, and focuses a little bit more on army, and I think he could have done that. I could have seen elite skirms being used a little bit more extensively, or defensive mangonels could have been an idea, Obviously, he didn't have a good answer to knights, but it's not like there was a huge amount of knights on the field. The problem was that those skirms were able to harass his gold mine quite early on, and now indeed, TaToH would just outboom him anyways, because the eco deficit is just too big. 19 will skill to 0 tells the whole story, even though TaToH had some inefficiencies like this wood line, for example, but nonetheless, TaToH retaliates for that lost boar, and in the second half of the game completely stomps MbL, to be honest. This is a big loss for MbL because he's known for being a very good Arabia player, so the fact that he has just lost potentially one of his best maps is a very, very bad sign, and he even had a good civilization for this one. So, MbL and TaToH 2.14 KD for TaToH over here. Economy was much better as well. But yeah, here's the APM graph for you guys. This is the part where the laming actually occurred, so you see this is why they were clicking so much. But this is what tells the whole story. 62 kills, 29 deaths. TaToH military-wise, he just completely outplayed MbL in this one. And I'm going to channel this back to what I said before the set. I thought that MbL is going to snipe Vikings. Vikings seem to be so powerful in Arabia nowadays. He sniped Aztecs, and I don't blame him for it. Aztecs is also a very powerful civilization, but I feel like it's actually easier to stop Aztecs than it is to stop Vikings. This means that TaToH's gonna take one game over here. He will have Vikings as a victory, and MbL is gonna lose Mayans over here. TaToH taking in number 1, which means we're going to one of the home maps of MbL, Serengeti or Kilimanjaro. Let's see if they are setting up the game, indeed. So, what is the map going to be? We don't know it yet, but we will soon figure out, I believe. So, if it's Serengeti, now that we have Chinese, Japanese, Portuguese, Burgundians remaining for... Oh, the draft is wrong, actually. The draft is wrong. I completely messed up the sides. But yeah, for those watching on YouTube, this is the actual draft over here. So this is TaToH's civilizations. The maps were right. So MbL has Serengeti and Kilimanjaro as his home maps. Mediterranean and Golden Swamp are the home maps of TaToH. TaToH has Italians remaining for Mediterranean, most likely. Tatars for Kilimanjaro, I would assume. Berbers would be an interesting idea for Golden Swamp, but I think it's more of a Byzantines map. And then Berbers for Serengeti. If it's Berbers for Serengeti, I would say Chinese could make sense there for MbL. You could use Japanese on Medi, Portuguese on Golden Swamp, and then Burgundians on Kilimanjaro. Seems like a reasonable combination of civilizations. We're going to Serengeti, and we'll have the Chinese versus Berbers matchup. As expected, nothing very, very special or unique coming in here. We're going to have TaToH on the left side playing as red Berbers, and yellow for MbL as Chinese. It's very interesting that Red Bull, ever since Red Bull, red and yellow are a much more popular combination of civilizations to see in tournament games for the players. Back before, it was always like blue and red, or so. Yellow and red weren't really common because they are from the same color palette, so both of them are warm colors. So it's awkward to see yellow and red being used so frequently. I guess this is just the habit of Red Bull. Speaking of TaToH, we're gonna have Berbers for him on the left side in red. He's got a very, very nice base layout. I really like this, to be honest. A lot of forests around his base, which is pretty uncommon for Serengeti. A big baobab forest in the north, acacia trees here and here. This is a relatively well-defendable base for him. The bad news is that he's got double front stones, which is not ideal with Berbers that might want to end up going for camel archers eventually. His huntables here are also nice because the presence of this extra shorefish could motivate a mill here much easier. So I kind of like this map for TaToH, to be honest. Berries are not really nice, but that's the secondary thing. I think everything else is just perfectly fine for TaToH here. Other side for MbL, he has very exposed huntables over here, so he might actually work towards pushing them in instead of milling them. And his base is also much more open from the right side, and doesn't really have a good Baobab forest that works out nicely for him. This one is pretty far out. His gold and stone spawns are alright, but that's basically it. Everything else, I much prefer TaToH's map. So that is going to be an advantage once again for a red player. Here comes the first elephant for both players, and there is only one elephant slash huntable. Sometimes it's a rhino, sometimes it's an elephant. On Serengeti, you're gonna have to get the rest of your huntable income from the extra zebras that you start with. So in terms of civilization matchup, diversity favors Chinese a little bit more in unit composition, and their flexibility as well with the cheaper technologies is a very nice thing to have. Berbers are super heavy on cavalry, but Chinese have the chance to match it with their own camos very nicely. So there's a variety of options available for both players. They can open scouts, they can open straight archers, or maybe even men at arms archers could make some sense. Given the fact that the map is pretty open, scouts is the most likely scenario. As you see, that only has 3 on wood, so that is usually a scout's play. MbL has 4 on wood on the other hand, but he's Chinese, so that might not mean that much. Still, TaToH is most likely gonna play scouts. MbL might choose to do differently. For now, TaToH can't afford a mill here, but eventually he is gonna drop it over there. So, for MbL, he decided to push in all of his huntables, and he has done so already with 3 zebras, 2 more remaining. That was scouting around the base of MbL here. He's gonna find the deer push of his, and he might actually try to be a little bit more aggressive and just try to disrupt that, but it looks like that's not gonna be the case. In fact, oh, TaToH. Now this is what we call a lame. Now this is what we call a lame here. Do it for the fans, TaToH. He's just pushing the deer of MbL all the way through the map into his base. That's one way of laming some huntables. Is that going to matter that much? Probably not, and you really have to argue that it might just be better off for TaToH if he used his scout to actually gather some more information, but MbL's gonna be like, hey, where did it go? Didn't it have one more zebra here? And then he's probably gonna realize that, oh yeah, that's taken by TaToH. Boom. So yeah, I don't think it's a big loss for MbL. Obviously not ideal, but this looked better than it actually was. So sure enough, it's a small advantage for TaToH, but it's more like the style points thing. Interesting mill from TaToH, by the way. I could have loved it a little bit closer to the shorefish, because obviously this is a little bit more efficient with the huntables, but 2 more tiles of walking for the huntables is not really a big deal. Whereas if you place it closer to the water, you would have had the shorefish here as well. That was going 21 pop feudal for scouts. Whereas for MbL, this time around he's going to wall. Previous game he didn't do it that much, which is very, very un-MbL-like. In this case, he's doing so, and he's gonna be fully walled minute 8. I always remember that Twitter discussion when we had, I think Hera asked on Twitter like half a year ago, something like, why are scouts no longer viable in competitive play? And then Viper responded to that tweet saying that it's because MbL is fully walled after 3 minutes of gameplay. So that always reminds me of MbL and walls. Speaking of that, that is going to be a scouts build for MbL as well. But in this case, the player that's fully walled is definitely gonna be the one that has the advantage, since he's not gonna be forced to defend. TaToH's doing some walling, but not an awful lot, which means that he's gonna have to play a lot more defensive here. Otherwise, he's just gonna get destroyed by scouts of MbL, since MbL's base is completely unpushable right now with scouts. Whereas for TaToH, he's still wide open. Opens with a spearman, but TaToH can't even afford a stable. And the reason why he can't afford that is because he went for a second lumber camp, went for a second mill, and he only had 3 on wood in Dark Age. That's something I was looking into, that if you have 3 on wood, you can't actually afford another stable here if you go for a second mill. I guess that's not something that TaToH thought about at that very moment. This may be deliberate, I don't really know. He might just go for Spearman defense, knowing that MbL is fully walled. But even then, it feels a little dicey, because chasing down those scouts with your Spearman is gonna be a nightmare. Or more precisely, it's gonna be a scout mare, because there's no knights on the field right now. Anyways, MbL's gonna yoink TaToH's scout over here from most of his HP. TaToH's still working towards finishing his walls over here. And it looks like he just wants to sort of go Spearman defense and fully boom, but that's a very, very late wall for that, and I think that might be a villager killed. Nope. TaToH's doing a nice job saving those villagers right now, and the faster walking Berber villagers are definitely helping with that. Another scout comes in here for MbL. The problem for TaToH is that his walls are very late for his strategy. It's just way too late. MbL, nice move, yoinking that scout. And this is what I was referring to. It's just gonna be an absolute disaster chasing down these scouts with your Spearman. TaToH is almost done walling though. And if he is successful walling and he's not gonna lose a villager, then this may still end up working out for him. As I said that, there is the first villager dead. So, for the strategy that TaToH was doing, he needs much faster walls, just like MbL does. Like, MbL didn't do a lot of scouts either, but he realized that, okay, if my opponent is pushing me with scouts and I'm not gonna invest a lot into army, then I need to be a lot more defensive, and I just need to have my walls up in time. And look at how desperate those spearmen are chasing. Since it's only 3 scouts, it would probably be just better to keep 1 spearman here, keep 1 spearman here, and 1 over here. TaToH with a quick gate though, that's a nice move from him. Still, I mean, those scouts will just be so annoying. And MbL loves that. MbL is just gonna keep running around, knowing that it just tilts the hell out of you, that you have to deal with those scouts. Look at that spearman, he's just unable to catch them. TaToH had to invest a bunch into spearman. I think TaToH actually invested more into army than MbL did. Because it's already 4 spearmen out, MbL just made 3 scouts and he was done with it. And he also got a 1 villager pick off, so that's a much better situation for MbL here. Now he finally runs into TaToH's spearman here, but really, it is just a massive amount of annoyance that MbL is causing here. So, by the way, MbL had 34 seconds of T saddle time, which is a very nice count. So, for Chinese, 34 seconds is a pretty decent and efficient play over here. TaToH has 5 spearmen out there. That's a bigger investment than what MbL made into scouts. And indeed, you're right, MbL had the starting scout as well, so he only made 2 scouts out of the stable. At this point, TaToH has so many spearmen that he just needs to distribute them on his resources and get stand ground on them. He also only has 2 villagers on berries, which is a little awkward, but that is not the biggest problem of his right now. And is MbL gonna find the vill? He almost did. He was looking for the low HP villager out there, and he almost got the kill. So he really wants a Hera snipe over here, but that's probably not gonna happen. Not with 2 scouts, not with one of them being very low in HP. MbL has clicked up to Castle Age a little faster than TaToH did, as MbL is still looking for that villager. Don't tell me. TaToH is not garrisoning that TC with all the vills, so technically speaking, it's only 1 villager out of that TC that's shooting. That's why that scout is still alive. And MbL wants that villager killed. It takes 2 more hits, but that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. TaToH is going to drop his first stable of the game back at home. The problem that TaToH is facing is that he was basically just going full eco-heavy, but realistically speaking, MbL has a better economy, and MbL is mining stone here. I think MbL starts to realize that he might be able to go super aggressive here. TaToH actually gets a couple of spearmen out to see what MbL is doing, Are we gonna see a castle drop here for MbL? He does have a market, and he has a blacksmith, which is a pretty unconventional way of going up to Castle Age. In fact, doesn't even need a market right now. It's just going to be 1 TC now, second TC as well. So it's not gonna be a castle drop, it's probably gonna be just straight Chukonu them. Something that Berbers will struggle against quite badly, especially if Berbers can't use their mobility. Now where could MbL place that castle at? This could be a good spot to secure the golden stone, and also would secure the right side of his base. He is almost ready to get that castle up. He's buying stones so that he can actually get it up. Meanwhile, for TaToH, he just has a couple of spearmen. MbL goes for a couple of preemptive camos. But look at this. TaToH is making a scout. Both of them are booming over here. TaToH just makes a scout so he can actually check what MbL is doing. And so we'll have a very much defensively focused castle here from MbL. He isn't really willing to risk anything. Probably the good decision considering that he doesn't even have a single military unit on the field other than a scout. This spearman is going to end up dying pretty fast over here to the TC fire. So MbL is going to have 3 TCs here with horse color, and obviously the longer lasting Chinese farms helps quite a bit as well. So I think I like MbL's position here a little bit better. Just full boom helps Chinese a lot more here. TaToH, it looks like he's going to go for the relics with the monastery, and he's popping out a couple of knights so that he can actually secure some map control for that. Yeah, exactly, that's something I was thinking about as well, that Serengeti is supposed to be a much more open and aggressive version of Arabia, and then both players are just full wall booming. And we have 9 military units on the field. We had 7 kills combined for the 2 players so far in a 21-minute game. So, usually Serengeti is about super aggressive feudal ages, a lot of scouts, villager picks, and so, but nope, not in this case. Full walls from the players, and that is just it. So a couple of knights are coming out here for TaToH. MbL is gonna go Chukanus, but he only has fletching, no ballistics, so at this point, this force is not really devastating. Although the knights themselves don't have +2 defense and bloodlines, so I guess it's still an okay matchup for MbL. The good news for MbL is that if TaToH just goes full cavalry, he's eventually gonna switch into halberdiers. So halberdier Chukanu is something that is going to be tough for Berbers to stop, especially if there is some siege rams being added as well in the long run. 3 TCs for both players. MbL is still mining stone with 1 villager, so there's a chance we're going to see a 4th TC being added at some point. Oh! That is a disaster. What happened there? Did MbL... Wait a second. Seriously? This hole was here the whole time. This hole was here the whole time. I don't think there was a tree there that got chopped down. Feels very, very unlikely. But TaToH has been trying to get through these walls forever, and if TaToH just went for 10 scouts in feudal, he may have won the game if that hole was still there, and boom, that's 2 villagers down for MbL. He's gonna bring back the Chukunu and he will be able to contain the damage, but how is there a hole there for MbL? That's beyond me. So he's very he's very lucky that TaToH only has 3 knights in here with dubious upgrades. Apart from woodlines and few random pawns, is there anything different in this map compared to Arabia? Yes, gold. You don't, like, standard Arabia has 7 plus 4 plus 4 tiles of gold for each player, plus 3 tiles neutral. Look at the gold distribution on this map. It's much more scattered. You don't have big gold deposits, you have a lot more smaller deposits. So, map control is even more important late game. For Siege Workshop coming in here for TaToH, and I guess he's gonna switch on the offensive. The idea here for him is that he knows that this castle is around here, so he can push this angle. And he just wants to be aggressive and boom behind it. That's pretty common nowadays. Just force the fight at the opponent's base, and that makes sure that your boom is gonna be completely untouched here. For the time being, MbL has a 10 villagers lead, by the way, and he's going for TC number 4. but that 10 villagers lead will soon shrink as a couple of villagers will bite the dust here on the stone mine, and truth being told, that's starting to be a concerning amount of knights for MbL. They still don't have bloodlines, as that is just now coming in, but Chukunu will struggle quite badly against this heavy knights and mangonel push here. Camos being popped out for MbL, and monks are also being brought in here. I think Camos is the reasonable thing here to do. For MbL, he doesn't need to rush it. He doesn't have a single upgrade on those Camos though, and that is a little concerning for him. He wants to sandwich this army though. He wants to come from the back over here. Beautiful ground attack by TaToH, yoinking a couple of the Chukunu. For now, MbL is gonna discourage this assault on his base, and he's mining stone, so eventually he should be able to get a castle up around this area, but that's gonna take a couple more minutes. And until then, things will be a little bit scary for him. So, here come the mangonels. MbL has to abandon a couple of farms over here, but more importantly his gold and stone mine on this side have to be abandoned. Another villager killed by TaToH. And once again, TaToH is the one that, despite MbL having a better start and currently having the villager lead, his aggressiveness is starting to pay off, because MbL is going to suffer from inefficiency soon, idle time, as that is a nice move though from MbL. Outmicros the mangonel and takes down one of the mangoes. The other one is very low HP. It's pretty unlucky for MbL that got away. A monk was also down here as another mangonel comes in. The camel in exchange could actually find the kill on the mangonel over there. So right now it's a dancing around, but MbL really wants a castle. You can tell that he's got 24 on stone. I think he will probably just delete that mill and place it in its place. He can now make a castle, and no, completely different idea. A forward, or like at least a middle of the map style castle for MbL, I have no idea what that accomplishes for him. He still has 22 on stone, so there's gonna be another castle coming in as both players are getting ready to click into Imp. This castle seems to be just protecting this stone mine and this TC, but Lord Doubt smile upon us. That is not really going up here. That's not going up. Oh, TaToH. Oh, TaToH. I guess let's just forget about that. So, as things stand, this random scout is just running around and trying to harass MbL, who is still 20 villagers ahead compared to his opponent, just now clicked into Imperial. The castle went up, which is a very, very big thing here for MbL, because otherwise he would have lost like 6-7 vills pretty easily there. I love how TaToH is using one scout to kill vills here, and that's the first villager kill of TaToH. Wait, no, what am I talking about? MbL has one villager kill, TaToH has 5, and TaToH actually managed to kill 2 vills here with that scout. Make it free? Nope, that's not gonna be free. But still, MbL just decided to will fight this one. But that was a scout with bloodlines and +2 attack, or +2 defense, +1 attack. So that scout is pretty sturdy. Anyways, it looks like MbL is stacking into more cavalry, so we're probably gonna see an increased amount of camels, and he's gonna keep pushing with Chukunu. And now that this castle went up, it's actually a huge one, as MbL is gonna buy another castle. Is it this gonna be the hill that he's gonna castle? I think so. Nope. He just wants to castle drop that wood line, but to my taste, this castle is a little too conservative. Meanwhile, TaToH pushes in with the knights, and that's a scary amount of knights over here. MbL has +1/+1 on his camos, but the numbers aren't really there. So this will force MbL to fall back. The castle is still going up here. TaToH's gonna counter castle this one. There is a couple of knights coming in to potentially disrupt this, but they focus down the Chukunu. This will allow... Oh, is this the Imp TC? It is. It's the Imp TC from MbL. Oh boy. Imp is gonna finish though. He's gonna repair. So I don't think it's gonna go down. But anyways, because these knights were focusing down the Chukunu here, the castle for MbL will actually go up. This kills a few villagers here from TaToH. And remember that MbL has the advantage into Imperial, so he can pop out traps immediately. The problem for MbL is that he cannot snipe the traps of his opponent. Chukunu cannot dive in and snipe traps, whereas TaToH can, and TaToH's gonna have a very scary force of knights here. This breach on MbL's walls is very concerning for him, because TaToH can always use his mobility to just run into his eco and steamroll it. Quick walls coming in here for MbL as the manganose are coming in. This is a dangerous play here for MbL. Microing against the manganose. He's gonna take down one. He's gonna take down two. This was a good fight for MbL over here, as Heavy Camel is now coming in for him. He's gonna switch fully into Camels. We'll see if TaToH does the same, as he cannot take a fight here right now. It's way too many knights to deal with. Economy is still better for MbL over here, and finding the opportunity to take this castle down using the traps from the hill is even better. Here comes the big fight. MbL has a couple of monks around that will prove to be very valuable, getting 1 or 2 conversions, but guess what, that's just not enough camels to deal with this one, especially now that it's Cavalier. The Chukanu have chemistry and bracer on them, but no rocketry, obviously, because that's a very, very expensive tech here. The castle goes down from TaToH. That was his only castle, as he's gonna send in the Cavalier to deal with the traps. Heavy Camel is still not in, so I don't think that this is a fight that MbL can win here. But it looks like TaToH won't actually commit against 2 castles and that many camels. And now MbL's army is something I'm starting to like a lot more. Because eventually those will be heavy camels. Even though they're still lacking upgrades, now at least it's heavy camel. MbL will probably lose this castle here, but the other one is still going to be there to hold the line. As MbL is not ready to give up on that castle yet. He wants to bring in his own traps and counter-trap this. And it might actually work out. His castle is lit ablaze. There's 7 villagers repairing, so if one of the traps is taken down, then that castle stays up, and that is 1 trap down. That castle stays up for MbL, I believe. 8 villagers are just enough to repair against 1 trap, and the other trap also goes down. This is going to be a clutch moment here for MbL. He's coming in for rocketry, which would make those Chukunus be even more devastating. TaToH, on the other hand, runs in with a huge amount of Cavalier, something that MbL needs to keep track of, otherwise he's gonna lose a lot of eco. But the direct push of the MbL might be just too much for TaToH to handle, and indeed, TaToH probably realizes that he can kill 20 vills here, but MbL will eventually clean this up. And in the meanwhile, TaToH has no tools of cleaning this one up. 30 Chukunus with soon rocketry, heavy camos as well, and the way into TaToH's base is wide open. MbL strikes back in this one, even though this was a very, very close game indeed. There were some scary moments for MbL throughout the entire game, and he's gonna even it out on his own home map with the Chinese. So this is gonna bring us to the home map of TaToH over here, Golden Swamp or Mediterranean. KD is much better for MbL here, but economies. MbL just flat out outboomed his opponent. It's 5,000 extra resources, which is pretty massive. He had a way higher villager count, I believe. 133 maximum versus 109 in this one. So far it's 0 out of 2 for the players that lamed, by the way. First game, MbL lamed the boar of TaToH, he lost the game. Second game, TaToH lamed a zebra from MbL, and TaToH lost the game. Alright, it looks like we're going to Mediterranean. Once again, I would be massively surprised if this was anything other than Italians versus Japanese. Italians versus Japanese as a matchup would probably favor Japanese, to be honest. While I love Italians on Mediterranean, I just think that Japanese can actually have a better value at being able to keep their fishing ship alive, replace their lumber camps faster. Late game, because it's a slow-paced map, the Karaparuto traps could be very, very useful. Do you agree that despite there being tons of S-tier tournaments since NAC3, this is by far the one with the best map pool? I didn't actually have a very, very in-depth look at the map pool of this one, but not necessarily. It has a good map pool, but saying that it had the best map pool, I think is an over-exaggeration. And I'm also very, very biased in this regard, because guess what? If you ask me what tournament had the best map pool, then I'm going to say 2 pools. Because, you know, that's the map pool that we worked on. Anyways, skipping that question, we're gonna have a Mediterranean over here, Japanese for MbL in yellow, and TaToH as Red Italians. No surprise over here. What's a bigger surprise is that this is a very, very unconventional Mediterranean spawn. Instead of the 2 players spawning on the opposite sides of the water, they're pretty close to each other, and this is one of those matchups where the water fighting might be sort of a secondary thing, and land fighting is gonna be much more amplified over here, especially with this gold being absolutely horrendous for MbL. It's a odd-shaped gold mine on elevation, which makes it harder to mining camp it. Plus, if your opponent controls this hill, you are not gonna be able to get your gold. That is a massive, massive problem for MbL. He's got nice stone mines to work with, and the other 2 gold mines are very nice as well. Easy to wall off the left side for MbL, which is very helpful. Right side is also fairly well wallable for him. Meanwhile, for TaToH, one thing that's very awkward is that it doesn't have a huge amount of wood to work with. This wood line is great, but no other amazing wood lines are present. This is just a big, big space over here. So this is a very, very weird map generation for many reasons. And the fun thing here is gonna be that neither of the players will know where the opponent is at. When MbL sees the map and he's scanning around, he's gonna believe that, okay, here's the pond, or more like a lake, or probably even a sea, then TaToH has to be here. Same thing for TaToH. So when TaToH is gonna scout, you can see that TaToH will probably start looking for MbL over here, because that's where the most reasonable spot for MbL is. So this map generation is gonna trick the players quite heavily. So as I said before, I think I prefer Japanese over here on this map, especially now that the players are very, very close to each other. It's still an open matchup for either of these civilizations, but I much prefer the Japanese here. Being able to keep your fishing ships up longer is nice. You can also go for a slightly faster dock because you don't have to spend that much on the lumber camp. So there's a lot of nice things incorporated in Japanese in this one as the first boars are coming in. Both players were pushing in deer, which is probably the best thing that you can do in a map like Mediterranean or Islands or so. And the reason why is because you don't have to scout your opponent, because you don't need to do land aggression. You don't need to fight on land, so you can just use your scout to push in deer at the beginning. That makes you able to save up the cows for feudal age, which is pretty helpful in general. Alright, so now you got MbL with the dock up. Dock is coming in as well for TaToH over here. MbL has to be careful because his villager here is not walled around, and he only has 25 HP on that, so if TaToH finds that will, that could be a disaster for MbL, and it looks like TaToH's gonna be the first person that will bump into MbL here. There's a chance he will just run straight into the TC though, because he's not expecting MbL to be here, and oh, look at that. That was beautiful from TaToH. He reacted to that house immediately. MbL also realizes that TaToH is around, so he's gonna quick wall that villager in. And this is the moment where TaToH's gonna realize that MbL is here, and look at MbL. He's gonna be looking for TaToH, but as I said, he will be looking here. So he's going the wrong way. Now, there is a couple of extra sheep available on Mediterranean, but it's fairly inconsistent. It's the standard map making Medi. This is not something that you have in tournament maps. And part of the reason why is because this is very, very inconsistent. Anyways, free extra sheep is definitely helpful for MbL, and probably the reason why he knows that TaToH is not here is because he found free sheep. If this was TaToH's base, and let's say, you know, TaToH just didn't find 2 of his own sheep, then MbL would say, hey, you would find a patch of 2 sheep. You cannot find a patch of 3 sheep close to the opponent's base. It's very, very unlikely that's gonna happen. So, fire galleys will soon be coming in for both sides. Despite the close presence of the players, we're not going to see any kind of land aggression from either side, as MbL is still looking for TaToH here. Now, the good news for MbL is that if he's running around here and he maybe bumps into some of those sheep, that's going to be a very, very nice addition. Although it seems like TaToH is just going to try and get all of those sheep to be lamed. Feels bad. I just feel like TaToH has caught a much better start, but part of that is the luck that he went the right way. Like, MbL's going the wrong way here, TaToH went the right way, but that's just pure luck here. Because they were anticipating the opponent to be on the other side, and now MbL's gonna be the one lurking around the docks of TaToH. Speaking of that, there's a chance that this villager will get killed right away. As TaToH's just gonna lame those herdables, and here it is indeed. MbL is gonna find the villager, and this is massive. This will be a repair villager, as MbL is gonna try to block it, and it also would deny additional docks from being added. I'm not sure if TaToH wanted to add a dock, and since it's a galley rush play, you don't even have a lot of vills to garrison the TC, so that scout actually managed to survive a volley of town center fire. Yoinks the vill, massive win there for MbL, I would say. Now, this villager is running back home. TaToH will probably have the same opportunity, to be honest, so TaToH might be able to retaliate immediately for that lost villager. That is already 20, 15. That's a massive difference between the two players. MbL committed to the same exact scenario. TaToH didn't, and that's why MbL is gonna keep that villager alive. TaToH only went for 2 fishing ships over here, so he didn't really commit much, and he's flanking around with the galleys. He's also opening galleys, by the way, and not fire galleys, which means that he's gonna need quite a lot of time to mess them until they actually become more efficient. MbL is gonna spot the galleys here now, and that forces him to run with his fishing eco. Still, as I said, Japanese have much sturdier fishing economy than their opponent, which means that it's much easier to keep them alive. And also the fire galley opening is something I much prefer over the galley opening. Keep in mind that TaToH has already lost some of his fishing ecos, so he's gonna switch back to land. And we already have an archer range coming in. MbL saw the barracks. He didn't see the barracks, but he sees the mill. And the mill is an indication that the opponent is probably starting to give up on water to an extent. He probably also saw that there's already just 2 fishing ships out. So MbL probably suspects that TaToH is going for land now. That is why he's going for the barracks. TaToH's gonna spot the barracks and he might try to delay it even. As MbL is gonna have a completely untouched fishing economy over here. And that is an excellent start, I would say, for MbL. Because sure enough, he's gonna get pushed on land, but Japanese fishing ships that even work faster, it's going to be a massive economical advantage. Still, MbL is gonna have to be prepared to fight on land, otherwise he's gonna be in trouble. Because otherwise, he will just keep losing his villagers. He could make a defensive tower around this area if he really wants to, as a range is now coming in. TaToH is massing archers back at home, so MbL is probably gonna open skirms here. So, as things stand, MbL is gonna have a much more reliable food income, and that's going to help him beat his opponent into Castle Age. You see that TaToH has 5 on food. Most of that is herdables and berries. So, for the time being, we're gonna have MbL with the range up. Goes for his own archers. There's already 2 archers coming in here for TaToH with fletching soon in. This is where I am a little bit skeptical about the archer play of MbL. I think straight skirms would have been slightly better, because right now he's gonna have no answer to those early 2 archers. Quick blacksmith coming in here for MbL as well. His woodland is gonna be secure, and that's gonna help quite a bit. He goes for a cheap mill here as well, another nice advantage for Japanese. They can go for the cheap mill, so affording that mill for the bears is much easier than it is for the Italian player. Still, 3 fishing ships for MbL, 0 for TaToH, and that shows on the food count. Archers are moving in, as MbL is pumping out his own archers. For now, this is not going to be very devastating on MbL's eco, and this is going to alert him that his opponent is going for archers. We're seeing quite a lot of farms being added by both players, no horse color on either side. As the archers now move in, MbL is probably going to lose at least a vill here, I would say. Nice move from TaToH, I love this move. He didn't just start shooting immediately as he got into range, he went closer. Because by going closer, he actually maximizes damage output, and he killed 2 vills here. Immediate defensive tower from MbL here, he knows exactly his trouble. And The only good news for him is that he could actually retaliate for those villagers killed immediately with his own archers, something that TaToH may not be expecting. The tower is coming up here, MbL... He's going to lose another vill here, which is far from ideal, but in exchange he picks off one here from TaToH. So currently, the villager KD is slightly in the favor of MbL, but obviously the presence of the fishing economy is something that helps quite heavily, and another villager could die here from TaToH. This could swing the battle heavily in the favor of MbL once again, as it looks like these archers also got cleaned up by the spear and the skirm. Now this is looking better and better for MbL. He's winning water, he's got the fishing eco rolling for him for a long time, and you see that TaToH is struggling for food really badly in comparison to MbL. And that's going to show in the castle age timing of the players. MbL's gonna wall like this, which makes some sense, but this wall would have been slightly better. There's an archer denying those walls for now. TaToH is still not ready to give up on water, as there's gonna be a couple of demos and the galleys trying to push out. But at this point, MbL is just going to be getting closer and closer to castle age and trying to beat his opponent to it. Here come the galleys. MbL's gonna jump on it immediately. In the meanwhile, his archers got cleaned up, but he's moving in with a couple of skirmishers, doing a bit of a harassment over here. Not a lot, but just enough to be annoying. Very sloppy though from him, losing this villager on the left side. He apparently didn't notice that happening. He's gonna have to send a skirm there to clean that archer up. He's probably too focused on controlling his ships over here. He's still only 3 fishing ships, so he doesn't really have an amazing economical advantage, but the fact that he has 3 fishing ships consistently working ever since the start of the game is a massive, massive advantage, obviously. So, this fire galley is going to come in to try and cut off the escape path of those galleys. Another galley joins the party in here for TaToH. Still, MbL is about to click up to Castle Age here, and in that case, probably Knights is going to be the aim of the game eventually, although he could technically continue crossbows. TaToH is going to try and snipe the fishing ships, but that's not going to be possible here with MbL. Just being able to react so fast to this one. And it looks like the 2 armies will pass each other, which is still... like, this is problematic for both players, because MbL is open here, as he wasn't able to finish those walls, and TaToH is also wide open here, so it's going to be about nerves. Who's going to be the one that falls back to defend? And it looks like neither of them will, as that is a massive migration here for TaToH, something that could put the dot on top of the I in this game. MbL already has a massive lead going into Castle Age, although TaToH found a way to buy himself up by selling a bit of a stone as well, but that is 10 villagers killed now. The problem for MbL is that he's also very much exposed here, with these walls not being finished, and those villagers could easily be killed from his side as well. Another villager goes down here for TaToH, make it even just 1, because their person is just gonna stay alive. There's the stable for MbL, so we are going to see some knights, and as I said, that wall missing on the left side for MbL is a massive concern. That's another villager lost over there, and while MbL was distracted, MbL also lost his fishing eco. So now the villager KD is as close as it gets. 11 kills by MbL, 8 by TaToH, so it's still a pretty open game here, both players having a considerable amount of idle town center time. So I feel like now TaToH could start to take over, although it looks like MbL is going to commit a lot more to water. He's going to go for War Galley upgrade and fire ships. If he reclaims water, he can still do a nice fish boom over here, as his army on the left side is going to get cleaned up by elite skirms. He decided to go for War Galley, which means no crossbowmen for him. Instead, he's going to start popping out a couple of knights. TaToH won't be able to afford crossbow and botkin at the same time either, as his galleys will apparently be able to hide from the fire ships. That's a nice advantage over here. The demo is going to completely ignore the fire ships. And MbL is looking for those ships over there as crossbow botkin comes in. For TaToH, disaster, however. This TC spot is just an absolute disaster here for TaToH. That's 1 villager down. And I mean, TaToH is scrambling to rush that TC up, but at this point, MbL is more than happy to allow TaToH to get that up. It's just a matter of picking off Vil after Vil after Vil. And that is already now 15 villagers killed. And that could be even more very soon. Meanwhile, the archers here are still doing some damage, but MbL has a defensive tower on this wood line. And the rest of his eco is fairly well protected. He has the water back pretty much, although he's not gaining anything from it right now because there is no fishing ships whatsoever for him. There is a couple of archers harassing TaToH's wood line as well. This knight is just chilling. Look at this guy. He does not care as he got picked off by the crossbows. So TaToH's gonna be playing 2 TCs, which might give him a chance to reboom here, but he's down by 6 Vils and he's about to lose water, so I would be massively surprised if MbL didn't start pumping out fire ship or fishing ships here in a matter of moment. So we're gonna have a second range coming in here for MbL. He sees the crossbows from TaToH, so he's gonna go Elite Skirm in this one. No Elite Skirm upgrade just yet for him, but he's got Botkin, he's got +1 defense. He's just a little too low on wood for Elite Skirm, and that is because he's adding fishing ships. Here come the galleys, and TaToH was waiting. He probably felt like he needs to wait a little bit until MbL builds up his fishing eco and then move in again to destroy it. But now he's gonna get sandwiched between fire ships, so MbL will have complete control over the water in the next couple of moments. There's just nowhere to run here for TaToH. MbL had to invest a lot into his navy, so he needs to get some value out of that, like a decent amount of fishing economy. Currently it's 15 villagers killed by MbL, 10 by TaToH here. MbL still has his breach on the left side on the walls, and that is a massive concern, as the elite skirms are now in. A couple of skirms are also marching all the way to the right side, interestingly. As you see, MbL knows about this force of crossbows, so he's going to send his elite skirms to deal with them. Meanwhile, he's going to start pumping out fishing ships, and he does possess a 7 villagers lead still consistently. The next step for MbL here is patrolling the fire galleys across the entire shoreline to prevent TaToH from redocking. So, as things stand, crossbows are still coming in for TaToH with mangonels on the way. He still has 2 TCs and MbL only has 1, which, as I said, could give a chance for TaToH to at least keep pace with the economy of MbL. MbL is buying wood pretty heavily, probably because he wants to have a bigger fish boom, and he wants to add a town center as well. This is a very nice town center spot for MbL. Protects the stone, protects the wood, as TaToH's army apparently is being tracked by MbL here, and I would be massively surprised if this wasn't chased down. MbL now has horse color as well, alongside Boso, whereas TaToH just has double bit axe. On the other hand, MbL went overly ambitious with the tower being placed here, and he wasn't expecting the mangonel. He lost a villager, got many of his villas damaged, and now he's gonna have to scramble for a siege workshop. Even worse, his gold mine is wide open for raiding, and all of that villager kills that MbL had previously are going to have 0 effect, because the villager count will soon become even if these crossbows achieve their goal. And as I said, this is something I mentioned at the beginning, that this gold mine is very unlucky for MbL. If TaToH holds this hill here, MbL is gonna lose this gold mine. It's gonna be awfully hard to gain it back, especially with TaToH grabbing Redemption. Redemption would allow him to convert these production buildings, or the mangonels even, for MbL as the crossbows move in, and that is gonna be another bunch of vills being picked off. TaToH doesn't have ballistics, so it's not like these units will be super duper efficient at killing vills, but in a game where MbL was leading quite massively, thanks to his fishing economy, I'm starting to feel like TaToH is taking over here with the land control. Now the mangonel is in, just trying to push wood lines. That's the game plan here for TaToH. He knows exactly that this is a wood line for MbL, this one is, and this one is. There is Sanctity coming as well for the monks of TaToH, and he could definitely try and convert some of these buildings, but it looks like he's just gonna mango them down. 2 mangonels now free for TaToH. MbL takes a downhill shot, but TaToH already coming in with the monk to get a conversion. MbL went for a delete at the end and trades a mangonel 1 for 1. But behind this one, the villager count is now dead even. MbL has 18 idols though. Look at this. He just made a new dock here, so that the fishing eco is much more efficient, but these villagers have been idle for a while, as that's a nice mangonel shot for MbL, although it's not enough to kill that mangonel. TaToH went for the delete trick over here, firing up hills, but that didn't work out either, as the battering ram is now in, and it's slowly knocking down that archer range. Behind this one, TaToH is definitely applying a lot more pressure on MbL's economy. Both players at 2 TCs, but MbL does have fishing eco, which gives him a slight edge economically. The problem that he's facing is that TaToH is doing a much better job pressuring his eco. If you look at the overall worker efficiency, that tells the whole story. TaToH 72%, 54 for MbL. Much more inefficient villagers for MbL, both in terms of economy and in general. So, a lot of idle time, villagers not doing anything on them. That doesn't really help MbL's case here. And as I said, these Redemption Monks technically have the power to convert these buildings. They probably want to reserve their faith to convert mangonels though. And the next step for TaToH is gonna be to secure this hill here, because this is a crucial here in front of MbL's base. The crossbows are lurking around at the back of the wood line for MbL, although it looks like MbL is just gonna clean this up with the elite skirms, so that's gonna be all good from him. And now TaToH takes this hill, a hill that's gonna be awfully hard to reclaim versus Redemption Monks and mangonels. Those mangonels firing down hills will evaporate buildings in 5 seconds, and MbL's in trouble here. Because despite him winning War Rest, he's gonna go for a guard tower defense. You see, he's making the towers. I don't see the university up just yet for guard tower, though. We're gonna have that range going down as well. MbL's gonna need defensive towers for sure, but without guard tower, this is not gonna be enough. He needs that upgrade. Otherwise, those towers won't do that much for him. And this is a smart idea here from TaToH. He wants to go for the docks. He realizes that there's a chance for him to just disrupt MbL's fishing economy a little bit. It's not going to be perfect because there is another dock on the right side here, so it's not the end of the world for MbL, who by the way has a wood line over here. This tells you how much of a problem MbL had with wood lines. He actually ventured all the way out there, and MbL is forced to delete the docks because TaToH was converting them. If TaToH converts the docks, TaToH can make a couple of ships and start pushing that economy on the water once again. There's guard tower for MbL, which would make life much easier for him. The mangonel from TaToH survives an uphill's shot, but then the tower is gonna take it down. Guard tower is in, so that's gonna make life a lot harder, in fact, for TaToH. MbL deleted the knight over here to avoid a conversion over here. There's a lot of things happening at the same time. Ecos are still pretty close, but MbL does have the economical advantage here, something not to overlook. So these fishing ships are really starting to pay for their price. MbL going for an interesting castle spot here. This castle would have been way better on this hill, but maybe MbL didn't feel like he has control over that hill, so he just wanted to go for the safer option. Expands to the right side quite a bit. And with that castle up, he could also get Yasama early, because Yasama is a Castle Age technology. Oftentimes you see it being researched in Imperial Age, because that's where Yasama towers start to become a bigger factor. But in this case, I believe that early Yasama could make some sense. Anyways, TaToH's mining stone with only 3 villagers, as MbL has his castle up over here. TaToH's gonna try and redock. So there's a chance that TaToH will try to push the fishing eco of MbL over here. MbL already expanding to the far right, but look at this. TaToH finds these villas on the right side and they will just keep mass migrating. Now they come in and they will try to fight these skirms, and they will be able to do so. Look at these skirms. So MbL is going to have all these villas out here, which is going to cause problems for TaToH. A forward base here for MbL, like on this hill, would be an absolute disaster for TaToH. And MbL is going to beat him to Imperial by a massive margin as well. So Arbalest play here from MbL could make some sense. Although MbL is really starving for wood right now. So, Samurai. Samurai from MbL against Mangonels and Redemption Monks. Interesting idea. Not necessarily a fan of that. Now, TaToH, he actually saw those villagers on the right side. His skirms weren't enough to deal with that, but that means that he's just gonna send a bunch of knights there and he cleans all of them up. This also alerts MbL there's probably knights coming his way as a defensive castle is gonna come in here. Oh, the castle foundation might go down. MbL lost his castle. MbL lost his castle over here. Did you guys see the resources? This is exactly what happens when you don't build a castle with a lot of villas. Because the building starts to be built and immediately upon the mangonels shooting, the foundation is going to go down. You see that this foundation is like 10 HP. And the collateral damage of the mangonel shot is going to destroy the castle foundation. This happens quite often when you have a unit that's close to firing immediately and you only have 2 villas building it. And that could be a massive disaster over here, added to the fact that TaToH just stylishly converts to Samurai and he just cleaned up the villas on the right side and now he's gonna have knights coming in from the right as well to push MbL. Added to the fact that TaToH is thinking about going back on water and going for fast fires, and I feel like this is once again getting better and better for TaToH over here. TaToH actually has more Samurai than MbL does, and TaToH is Italians. Still better than when John Slow auto. Let me retry that again. That's a hard sentence. Still better than when John Slow attack grounded his own castle. I think Hera did that as well in 2 pulls. Now here come the fire ships as well. And currently, as I said, MbL is having a bit of an issue with wood. So he doesn't have huge wood lines remaining. He kind of lost the ones on the left side, and the right side ones are running dry. In general, he doesn't have a huge amount of wood, which will make it much, much harder to deal with the fire galley play of TaToH, who's going for greening as well. For now, MbL is going to be able to hold water, but TaToH pops out the next wave of ships, and if MbL loses his fishing eco, suddenly his economy is going to be even worse. TaToH already has a 12 villagers lead, but that could soon grow. Italian Samurai versus Japanese Condottieri. It's Italian Samurai winning if both units are converted. Here comes the trap from MbL. MbL actually mines enough stones so that he can get a castle up here again, which is gonna be the end for this dock and probably this one as well. Behind this, MbL has lost quite a few villas, and TaToH is getting ready to push the fishing eco here in a moment. In fact, he invested a huge amount of resources into the fire galleys, or fire ships now. Might as well do quite a bit of a damage with them, and maybe even go for a couple of fishing ships himself. Now, TaToH is stacking into, I guess, elite skirms himself, as TaToH is going to secure the crucial northern part of the map with this castle. That's a beautiful castle for him. TaToH is also in possession of 1 relic, and that's soon going to grow because I think he's got the map control on the right side to pick up the relics over here. Elite skirms are moving in right now, but they only have +1 defense for MbL here, so they're pretty weak, I would say, when it comes to survival. Still, I think MbL with elite skirms and Samurai, he could definitely do quite a bit of a damage here against just pure elite skirms. So, TaToH has expanded to the north as I see scale mail being mixed in, and indeed, since TaToH is going for pure elite skirm defense, Samurai makes quite a lot of sense. It absolutely annihilates elite skirms, and speaking of elite skirms, it's not even elite for TaToH right now. TaToH is taking into fast fires, but honestly speaking, fast fire ship won't actually matter because he already won water. In exchange, he's getting steamrolled on land right now because his land army is almost non-existent. So, knights coming in to drive in on the mangonel, they will be able to do that. Still no elite skirm for TaToH, is just now being teched into as Italian light cav will hit the field. Meanwhile, cannon galleons are in for TaToH, and that could swing the battle back in his favor if he can start taking down that castle and then destroying the trebs. For now, he's just trying to hold with mangonels and elite skirms, but he's getting pushed back really rapidly here. He still has a bunch of space to fall back to as a backup option, but MbL's land push here is a lot more convincing right now. Bombard cannons will be added though to deal with the elite skirms, and the converted samurai also joined the party. He wants to start getting to Hussar. Speaking of TaToH, by the way, as MbL goes for a very, very aggressive castle drop here. Okay, he's gonna cancel that and he's gonna go back a little bit more. Defense upgrades coming in for the samurai. They still need quite a lot of those because otherwise the skirms will just pick them apart. As a couple of Hussar are soon to come in for TaToH. TaToH is shelling this castle with the cannon galleons now, but I just feel like he's getting pushed back faster than he can actually mass an army to defend. This is definitely the best game of the series so far. TaToH, by the way, has lost the monastery here, so he's gonna lose the only relic that he was in control of. As this castle is likely going up here. The trap is gonna die to the bombard cannon here, though. So that's a bit of a nice thing for TaToH here. He's also taking on this castle slow and steady. And the presence of these cannon galleons would make life much harder for MbL. Another castle comes in here for TaToH on his base. And here's the deal. If this castle for MbL goes up, then this wood line for TaToH is just history. And that's minus 20 lumberjacks, not something that TaToH can necessarily afford. He has a decent bank of wood, but this is 20 villagers dead if this castle goes up. Now, is this castle going up though? Because it's being fired upon by 2 bombard cannons immediately, so I'm not sure how long this castle is gonna stay up. MbL brings in the villas to repair, but he's pretty much out of stone here. MbL knows exactly that this castle won't hold for long, so he's just gonna send in the boys to try and destroy that castle over there, or that TC. What am I talking about? That's not a castle, and I think this migration is something that TaToH should have done before. Because now that the castle is here, it's going to start turning into a massacre, and most of these villagers will go down. The castle also goes down as well, so did this one over here. So now MbL is only on 2 castles, and TaToH loses that TC over there. Score inscription coming in for TaToH as well, as now he's gonna have elite skirms and bombard cannons in, but MbL has a huge amount of samurai now. They're only missing +4 defense and squires. Now obviously +4 defense missing here is a big deal, because if TaToH mixes in a couple of arbs, they can pick apart those samurai pretty easily. In fact, you see that the skirms, even the skirms, are doing a decent amount of damage to them. So if MbL had +4 defense here, he would be decisively winning this fight. Now this is not a big win for MbL. In fact, it's actually a loss. The skirmishers have enough firepower to deal with these samurai, because the samurai don't have the defense upgrade, and it's a lot of resources going down the drain for MbL there. As I said, if he grabs +4 defense, this is going to swing back in his favor, but he needs defense upgrades for those samurai. Otherwise, he's just gonna lose them to skirmishers. Meanwhile, TaToH's setting up stables on the right side to get some raiding damage in. MbL's got some spearmen around that area, as the cannon galleons are sort of idle now. Some samurai randomly raiding at the back of TaToH's eco, and now here comes the elite not the elite samurai upgrade just yet. That's something that the MbL should also get if he has the resources to do so. But first, plate mail, something that's almost mandatory in this case. But now that TaToH is switching into Arbalest, I start to feel like Arbalest Bombard Cannon is gonna be the name of the game here for TaToH, even though he runs into the Castle Fire here, which is less than ideal, and then he separates his Bombard Cannons from his army. That was an awful, awful fight for TaToH there. So now the samurai are in, and you see that they tank a lot more skirmisher fire now with +4 defense. And suddenly, the battle swings back in the favor of MbL. This is why he needed +4 defense faster. There is a massive difference between +2 and +4 defense in this one, and the samurai are slowly starting to run over TaToH's army. Military numbers are still in the favor of MbL, and the samurai elite skirm combination seems to be working out fine here. Only a handful of Hussar here to deal with the elite skirms, but the big problem right now for TaToH is samurai. He has nothing against samurai right now that could deal with it. MbL has a bunch of forward villas here, but he doesn't actually have stone for a castle, so I'm not sure what they're up to. What are these villas up to? Is he gonna start buying stone and go for Yasama Towers, or did he just misclick these villas? Yeah, he misclicked the villas. He definitely did. TaToH coming in with a couple of Hussars from the right side to raid, but I feel like there's just no tools for TaToH to stop this push right now. New FL, thank you so much for the 14 months of resub. I appreciate it a lot. Welcome back. As a defensive castle comes in for TaToH, you can tell that he knows how important this is, because he's pulling like 25 vills to make this happen. Samurai will definitely kill quite a lot of them before the castle goes up. It's gonna go up, but there is gonna be casualties here from TaToH. By the way, the fact that there is such a wide land patch over here on the left side actually hurts TaToH quite heavily. This is a weird map generation on Mediterranean, and we talked about this. And that hurts the player that has water right now, because he can't really use the cannon galleons to take down this castle, for example. Still, TaToH is sort of acting like jelly right now. You punch him here and he's expanding to the other side. So he definitely believes that there's a chance for him to turn this one around. Still 0 relics for either player as the map starts to run out of gold. But currently the army numbers are just not there for TaToH. He's trying to get to Hussar and sort of play a Hera style game where he will just raid his way back into the game with Hussar. And it might work if MbL cannot actually deal with this aggression here on the right side. So, more and more Hussar coming in, and the resource efficiency will be slightly better for TaToH if he's just spamming Hussar, because sure thing, Samurai are decent against Hussar, but Hussar will eventually be more cost efficient, especially in terms of gold. In this one, the Samurai being shot by Bombard or Cannon Galleons. There is no elite upgrade on those Cannon Galleons. MbL is probably consuming his final gold mine left over here. Relics will start becoming a factor, and MbL is doing a better job grabbing them. He has already gotten 2, so TaToH can still pick up 3 relics very easily, but he never actually did so. And soon relics will start becoming a very, very important part of the game, as the Hussar are being grouped up for TaToH, and that's exactly what you need when you're playing Hussar. You need one big group. A couple of Hussar won't do much. You need a big group. Now MbL is already taking into Pikemen on the other hand, which will make life much harder for TaToH, because Japanese Pikemen will just annihilate his light cavalry pretty easily. TaToH sees the Pikeman, so he knows exactly he's gonna need an answer for that. And I just keep feeling that MbL is always one step ahead compared to TaToH, although this feels like a good fight for TaToH here with the Pikeman being picked off, and now the Light Cav can jump on the skirms. Still no Halberdiers for MbL as an upgrade, and it looks like it's gonna be Hussar Arbalest for TaToH. He feels like Arbalest play makes sense against the Pikeman, and Hussar makes sense against the skirm, and that's actually the case indeed. The question is, can he micro his units in a way that the skirms can't reach the arbs, because those arbs will be very, very precious now that the gold is running out of gold. Did I just say the gold is running out of gold? I feel pretty potato casting today. I didn't have a good sleep, so that's my excuse, but still, yeah, the map is running out of gold, that's what I wanted to say. Okay, now there is Arbalests with full upgrades on them, as MbL is now sitting on 3 relics. Also hold off the right side to prevent this aggression from escalating further. He lost all the cannon galleons to spears. I didn't see that, but it's possible. Pikemen have bonus damage against ships, and those are Japanese pikemen, so you can lose those cannon galleons pretty easily to them as TaToH arrives at the first wave of the raids, and this is where mobility will start becoming a massive concern for MbL. He will just have none of it. And in fact, MbL has 33 Halberdiers, 19 skirms, but you see that his castle here is being shelled. If he loses this monastery, TaToH's gonna reclaim 2 relics, and this is very, very big here for TaToH. Being able to get some raids like this done is actually enormous, especially when MbL is forced to play Halberdiers. MbL needs wood, and he doesn't have wood for more Halberdiers. Halberdiers coming in on the right side, but the TC is gonna have a quick cleanup over here, as you see that MbL is forced to chase now, and that's exactly the situation you want to avoid, as the bombard cannons are slowly crawling up. MbL will soon take an engagement here, But obviously bombard cannons will help quite a bit against the skirms. In fact, they are already doing so. Right side, we have a couple of Hussar trickling in, not a huge amount. The left side was a much more bigger deal. Pavise coming in, a very, very underrated upgrade of Italians. It gives you 1 melee and 1 archer armor for your archers. And the price of Pavise is super cheap, something like 250 food, 200 gold or something, one of the cheapest unique techs in the game. And one of the things that makes the Italian arbalests in late game very powerful. So Pavise is a great upgrade. It also doesn't just affect Genoese crossbows. It's usually seen in games when Genoese crossbows are present, but it also affects arbalests. So, hand cannon, what? That must be a misclick for MbL. There's no way the hand cannon is intentional here, because he's up against arbalests, elite skirms, and Hussar. Here comes a big scuffle, both sides have quite a lot of skirms, and now that MbL doesn't have Samurai, the elite skirms will work out very nicely over here. Bombard cannon's getting some huge shots in here. MbL with the choke point, that is a disaster for him. That is a disaster. All of those skirms were grouped up at that choke point, and another big blast coming in. And that is probably what decided this engagement. It would have been much, much closer if those bombard cannon shots were not there, but that's like minus 20 elite skirms getting steamrolled there. And now, if you take a look at this, TaToH is gonna be able to reclaim those relics. 75 army against 45. That fight over here with all those skirms going down may have just sealed the deal. Because now TaToH is all over the place. He's gonna be able to spam Hussar to raid the economy of the opponent, and he's got 50 elite skirms versus 15. And MbL's army is mostly halberdiers that will die to Arbalest and elite skirm. TaToH edging out a long game over here, it very much seems like. Because wherever I look, he's now winning. He's got the better map control. The only thing that I would criticize for him is, as I said, him not having the relics, something that he could have picked up long time ago, but he's now doing it as well. So from this point on, this would take a smaller miracle for MbL to come back from, as the villagers are trying to come in, snipe the bombard cannons. MbL's map control is so limited that soon wood is gonna be an issue for him as well, as he's gonna commit to this fight. There's quite a lot of samurai in here, which could make life much harder for TaToH. MbL is completely out of gold, but that many samurai could easily devastate this army, and it will. This is not a good fight for TaToH here. He might still be able to edge this one out because there is some arbalests on the field, but as you see, the samurai are doing an awful lot of damage here, and as bad as the previous fight was for MbL, this one is amazing for him and awful for TaToH. An absolutely brutal cleanup here, as TaToH falls down to 40 army himself. Those samurai are really paying for their price in this one. TaToH now on 2 relics, and he's going to start picking up these as well. Still, the fact that TaToH has more relics now is something that's gonna have an amplified effect on the game, plus TaToH has the chance to raid MbL. So from this point on, MbL is in a tough situation. But this game is very much over, and... what? So... I feel like this game could go very, very long. It's far from being over. Still, TaToH is able to pump out more military, and he's banking a lot of wood as well. Something that you would see very frequently in such stalemates in deathmatch. TaToH is a very experienced deathmatch player, so he knows exactly that if it's a stalemate, banking wood is something that could make some sense, because if the game goes very, very long, there's a chance that the bottleneck resource will start to become wood and not necessarily gold, because we're already seeing more and more trash wars coming in. But TaToH is going for his own champions, although I think that it's gonna be Condottieri coming from the right. Champions could make sense for TaToH with the amount of relics that he is gonna have on the left side to deal with the halberdiers and the skirmishers, but on the right side I think that Condottieri make more sense to just go for raids. Although Hussar raiding is always gonna be more gold efficient for TaToH, but a couple of Condottieri could make quite a lot of sense for TaToH. Let's see what he's up to. He's just now grabbing Blast Furnace. Forward Siege Workshop for better bombard cannon production as well coming in. for him. Meanwhile, TaToH's vills here are gonna get intercepted, but the barracks do go up. At this point, the army numbers are still pretty close for the two players, but TaToH's got better map control. He's got the majority of the relics. So it's gonna be champions from TaToH after all. Interesting decision, that's for sure. I don't exactly know. I feel like Condottieri could make some more sense. I don't know the exact costs for Condottieri though. It might be because of gold efficiency. The thing is that for TaToH, considering that he's got 3 relics and he could have 4 versus 1, he's gonna have more gold than his opponents. So despite the fact that he's Italian and he's fighting against Japanese, champions can make some sense for him. He's got fully upgraded champions as well. And MbL wouldn't be able to match its numbers. And it might be more gold efficient than Condottieri is. Condos would be better at raiding, but maybe Hussar champion makes more sense for TaToH than just going for Condottieri. I'll have to check the cost of condos over here. What's the cost of a Condottieri? 35 gold, that's why. A champion would cost 20 gold, a Condottieri would be 35 gold, so... Yeah, the other thing is that Samurai do much better against condos than they do against champions as well. That's another thing, that champions will be an okay matchup against Samurai, condos will be absolutely awful. So, here comes the 200 swordsman upgrade over here. Numbers aren't really there for TaToH. I only see 3 longswords on the field, as the champions will be coming in from the right side. Not even the left side where they would be needed. This is even more weird for TaToH. I really don't know what he's planning with those champions. Anyways, he's gonna have a couple of orbs behind, and I like this a lot. These orbs are able to pick off the halberdiers that would close the distance, but they are not absorbing the arrow fire, as the skirm's absorbing it. Oh my goodness, MbL didn't have Thumbring up until now. Imagine if he had it for the entire game. How many units did he lose without Thumbring? That just hurts so much for MbL. I mean, he was almost winning the game like 20-25 minutes ago, and he did so without Thumbring. Thumbring would have probably been enough to swing the battles in his favor even more. And now TaToH is getting forced back here. The champions are piling up on the right side, and TaToH wanted to send them into MbL's base, but since it's walled off, these will walk all the way around, and unless TaToH notices that, they will start walking around. Okay, TaToH noticed it for the time being. So, we are gonna have the skirms popping out here for MbL in increasing quantities. TaToH is down to just 6 skirms over here, whereas on the other side, MbL has 32, so once again, MbL is the one being the aggressor here, but this is why TaToH wanted to go for champions. He just wants to run into the eco with a bunch of champions with arson and destroy every single building. And if you think about it, like look at this, TaToH is destroying mills here. He just wants to destroy MbL's economy here. He realized that hussars can be cleaned up very easily with halberdiers, but how do you clean this up? You need hand cannons or arbalests to clean this one up. That's why TaToH is sort of raiding with champions, because the current unit composition of MbL doesn't allow him to clean that one up. And now TaToH is popping out a lot more hussar as well on the left side to go for a raid. MbL's eco is getting absolutely annihilated. He just lost this relic, and knowing TaToH, he might try to yoink that one as well. I feel like this is the final straw here for MbL, because he was already behind, considering that he didn't have any relics, and that's just a matter of time now. He still has a huge army, but you see that he's forced to send halberdiers and skirmishers to clean up champions. And these are fully upgraded champions, or they could be if TaToH had the last armor upgrade. That is a big issue for him, because the skirmishers will be very efficient against these champions then. We saw that in the case of the samurai, that you need the +4 defense. That applies to champion as well. So this could have been way better for TaToH if he had +4 defense. Still, he inflicted a huge amount of damage here on the right side. So this completely forced MbL to fall back with his entire army. And now you have a bunch of Hussar moving in on the left side. MbL will soon not have any resources under his control. Like you see that. These were his wood lines and these are his wood lines. All of them are under heavy pressure now from TaToH. So resource control is going to be a big thing, as the Halberdiers will jump on the fire ships and they will destroy them immediately. TaToH, however, is able to take this hill now, and that hill is actually going to be even more important in the long run, because this is going to be awfully hard for MbL to reclaim. There's a Cannon Galleon as well, helping out a little bit in this engagement, as I think TaToH will probably start massing champions again on the right side. He's just going to be able to stretch out the attention of MbL, and part of that comes from the fact that he's got 4 relics, so he's able to afford gold units much easier than MbL can. And now MbL is clearly struggling to keep up with the army numbers. This was definitely one of the best games I've ever seen, and a great one for a long time. TaToH takes game number 3 over here. It was a tough match for him, I have to say, though. This was a long, grindy game for him, very back and forth. We had like 4 or 5 swings in this game. And it didn't seem like it was gonna go this long for quite a while, but then it ended up that way. TaToH with way more resources under his control at the end, more relic gold as well. Those are things that basically allowed him to edge this one out a little bit easier. But still, this was a tough one for TaToH over here, and it seems like we're in for a very close set, because so far every game has been pretty back and forth. If you think about the Serengeti game, that was pretty close. This one was really close, I would say. The Arabia game was a little too one-sided, I believe, but this one was an excellent game. And with that, we now have a 1-point lead for TaToH over here. Looking at the APM graph, MbL had the better APM for the majority of the game over here, but the way that TaToH established map control was pretty big. And remember that MbL had some sneaky villas coming to this corner at some point, but TaToH was able to see them, and that was massive. Imagine if MbL had a castle here. This would be a completely different game. I think if MbL manages to get a castle up on this hill before, then this would have been a game for MbL, because TaToH wouldn't have the space or the resources to work with and break out of the grasp of MbL. The main reason why TaToH was able to edge out the win is because he was able to control the right side of the map where the relics were and where a bunch of extra wood was. Hanati, thank you so much for the new Prime sub. I appreciate it. Welcome. Thank you. So we're going back to the lobby. Add a score to TaToH. Italians is gonna be a win for him, and Japanese will be a lose for MbL. Mediterranean in the hands of TaToH. So we're going to the other home map of MbL, which is Kilimanjaro, with Tatars, Ethiopians versus Portuguese Burgundians remaining. It's definitely Burgundians versus Tatars here, which is an awkward matchup. The thing is that Burgundians will have a far better economy, but they have absolutely no answer to Tatar Cav archers. So this is one of those matchups where the Burgundian player is gonna have to be very aggressive and overrun the opponent with heavy cavalry before the Cav archer numbers grow high. This is definitely possible, but if the Tatar player gets up to like 20 Cav archers, it's not gonna be a win for the Burgundian player on such an open map. So MbL is going to have to play a pretty aggressive game in the next one with Burgundians, otherwise he's going to be in trouble. And the decider game would be TaToH's favorite map, probably, from tournament map polls, and that's Golden Swamp, with a Byzantines versus Portuguese matchup. A place where I probably prefer Portuguese, but that's a different type of a scenario. First, we need to take a look at this game. The players are in the lobby. Both of them are ready, so we are coming in with the next game in this one. Kilimanjaro indeed, and Tatars and Burgundians will be the civilizations. So no surprise at all. Welcome to Kilimanjaro, a map with quite a lot of hills and limited amount of wood available for the players, as we're gonna have Tatars for TaToH in the north in red, and to the south we're going to have MbL as Burgundians in yellow. Burgundians in general is a good civilization, but I feel like for this map specifically, Tatars is a way better choice. The presence of the hills, the fact that it's a very open map, so cav archer play is completely viable, makes it a very, very good map for TaToH over here. MbL, for the time being, he's gonna scout his base. Considering that this map only has one aggressive huntable, like an elephant, it is possible that MbL might go and try to lame here. Because remember that he's down one game, and if he could lame that huntable from his opponent, that would be a massive, massive advantage overall. For now, TaToH is just pushing in ostriches, or at least he did so with one. Whereas for MbL, it looks like he has been just scouting around looking for his sheep. I wasn't muted, I was just catching my breath for a moment. Don't worry, I don't mute myself accidentally while casting, so if I'm silent for like 20 seconds, that's not really uncommon. If I'm muted, or like if I'm not speaking for 5 minutes and there is things happening, then I'm definitely muted, but not in this case. Well, I was muted, but not accidentally, it was intentional. Alright, so 4 on wood for TaToH to start with, which means we're going to see some sort of archer opening, maybe even men-at-arms archers. Could be an interesting idea over here against Burgundians. Personally, I would probably prefer scouts opening here, if you want to play cav archers, but that's a little bit more predictable, and TaToH might just play either man-at-arms archers or straight archers into crossbows, and he's gonna have tumbling immediately in Castle Age, so he might just play crossbows because of that. Anyways, we're gonna have MbL with the 4 on wood himself, but that's probably because he wants to grab the eco upgrades, so I wouldn't actually say that that's gonna be a scout's build from, or an archer's build from him. It would be quite unconventional if it was. I think it's more like a skirm defense into knights is what you probably want to have for MbL. Anyways, MbL coming in here with a barrack. It's a pretty fast timing over here, and it seems like he wants to go for a drush, since this villager is mining gold here. That's pretty unconventional with Burgundians, so there is going to be some mind games over here with strategies for both players, especially MbL with Burgundians going for a drush. How do Custoliers fare against cav archers after they corrected the bug? Awful. Like, it depends on how many cav archers and how many Custoliers. But in general, Custoliers are rather slow. So once you have like 25 cav archers, they don't do anything, just like knights. It's the same thing as with knights versus cav archers. As long as the knights can overrun the cav archer player before the cav archer numbers grow high, before the cav archers get their upgrades. So husbandry, bloodlines, ballistics, tumbling, which is not the case for Tatars because they have it for free. So if you can actually force a fight there, then they do well. But once the cav archer numbers are high, then there is no chance for any kind of melee cavalry unit, like knights, Custoliers, Step Lancers, whatever, to have a chance against them. So, MbL's got a stock of villager here, by the way. It looks like he's gonna be able to fix it. And once again, we're gonna have some woes coming in from MbL. TaToH this time is not really motivated to woe at all. And there is Horse Color for MbL first. He isn't even getting double bit axe right now. He's grabbing Horse Color, which is an awkward decision considering that he still has quite a lot of herdables. And the only way this would actually make sense if he's actually going for farms now and this is a fast castle. Because if he's not building farms, then Double Birax would have been a way better choice than Horsecolor. Here come the Drush, and MbL could very well find the berries of his opponent. It's gonna be a sneaky Drush. So, you see that MbL sees the house. He probably thinks that TaToH TC is around here, and that's why he's sneaking around. As we are gonna have Vo's up for MbL. It very much seems like this wants to be a Drush fast castle. And honestly, it's probably gonna end up being a Hoang style play if you think about that. Drush fast castle into knights and forward siege workshop. That's a nice way of dealing with Tatars before they could get cav archers. That could make quite a lot of sense, and this Drush is gonna be a perfectly timed here for MbL. He's gonna force away TaToH from gold, which is crucial. Being able to just delay the gold income of the opponent is already a massive, massive advantage. So this delays the archer play of TaToH by a considerable margin. By the way, is TaToH even playing archers? It seems like it's not the case. TaToH is playing naked fast castle. Look at the resources. 24 villagers with 3 on gold after loom. That's a naked fast castle. I have to say that I'm very, very impressed by the strategies in this set. Kilimanjaro is also a very, very open map, super aggressive as well, or at least so it seems. And then people are just going for standard fast castles, not even a Drush fast castle. TaToH just went for full fast castle without a single wall. If MbL went for 5 archers here, TaToH would be dead by now. Nonetheless, TaToH's gonna find its way up, but it's gonna be delayed a little bit because his gold income was delayed. And because of that delay, I think MbL's gonna have a comparable castle age time over here. Still no double Brax for MbL, surprisingly, but instead he went for a huge amount of Horsecolor farms, which is nice as well. TaToH might soon have an overchop here on this wood line, something that he needs to be mindful of, and it's a market blacksmith fast castle. Is TaToH just gonna boom? It kind of feels like it. He would be going up with a range or a stable if he wanted to make any army. Market blacksmith would only be a unique unit or a boom play. And there is no stone mining, so it's not a unique unit play. Straight fast castle into boom on such an open map. This is Age of Empires in 2021. So, MbL going up to feudal just now. That's a very, very late feudal from him, and it looks like MbL wants Custaliers. It's a Drush fast castle into Custalier play from our yellow player, whereas it is a straight fast castle into some sort of military, because we're seeing a barracks coming in for TaToH, but I would assume that that's just gonna be a stable from him. Could still be an archer range, but it would be awkward because you don't really have the time to mass that many archers. It looks like TaToH thinks otherwise, and we're going to see naked fast castle into probably straight cav archers in this case. Now, straight cav archer play is a nice thing to have, and considering that MbL was not pushing TaToH, it's alright. I feel like this is one of those strategies where if MbL did anything other than what he actually did right now, then TaToH would be in trouble. But TaToH's gonna get away with this one, and it's probably better in the long run to play straight cav archers than to play crossbows. Obviously, oftentimes, in fact, in most cases, you have to play crossbows, because otherwise your opponent is just gonna steamroll you in feudal. But now that there was basically no aggression from MbL, just a handful of militias that weren't really able to get any villager kills, you can go straight cav archers. MbL is still not clicking up to castle age, but one thing is sure, his economy behind this one is absolutely bonkers. So, sure enough, TaToH went for straight fast castle into cav archers, but TaToH's economy is very heavily strained. So, you see that he has cav archers, but only fletching, no husbandry, no bloodlines, not even remotely close to being able to afford University and Ballistics. So I think at this point what MbL needs to do, he goes for a defensive tower at an interesting spot, is Stonewalls. MbL just needs to Stonewall himself and just boom behind this one. It looks like he wants to play guard tower defense here, because with that many watchtowers, guard tower might also be on the horizon for him. TaToH's gonna send in the cav archers, and those towers will definitely help keeping them out. Although, as I said, there is a weak spot over here, and there's a weak spot over here. MbL sends a villager outside. It's actually a second vill. Nope, the second vill is just here to revolt this one. What is this villager up to? Seems like a sneaky villager going all the way around as the cav archers arrive to the left side. MbL is gonna go for the contingency walls, and he's playing a very awkward tower defense game. Considering he only had 4 or 5 on stone for the majority of the game, I am starting to feel like this was the game plan the whole time. He didn't want to go for a castle and Custaliers. He wanted to just sit back and go tower defense. Maybe he anticipated the straight cav archer plays from TaToH, I'm not 100% sure. But you see that TaToH doesn't have the food economy right now to pop out more vills. That is the problem that TaToH is facing. Straight fast castle into market, blacksmith, double range cross or double range cav archers. Just too much resources you have to spend. So maybe if it was without a market, this could have been slightly better, although probably the reason why the market was needed is because TaToH sold his stone to do that. But still, this is just too stretched out of an economy for TaToH, and MbL might just simply outboom him. He just needs to add 3 layers of stone walls and he's more than happy. And that's exactly what we're seeing over here. Defensive towers, house walls, and MbL is gonna have absolutely no problem with TaToH's aggression here. And there's a forward sneaky villager that may go for something like a stable and then mangonels. And the idea here probably is that you want to go for a boom behind this one and then sort of a Huang style push here with knights and mangonels. MbL is gonna be all good for the time being, although his map control will be limited. And that's something that he is going to have some trouble with. By the way, TaToH didn't even find 2 of his sheep, so that also doesn't help, especially with Tatars that technically have longer lasting sheep, so it's sort of part of your eco bonus also being lost. Now the cav archers are in here. If they ever find a way through the walls of MbL, MbL dies. But that doesn't seem to be likely right now, and with town centers coming up at the wood lines, it's gonna be even less likely for TaToH to find a way into MbL's base. This is one of the greediest booms I've ever seen. Now, here's the deal. The cav archers could technically commit against that wall, because sure enough, you're gonna lose 1 or 2 of them, but if you get through those walls, as I said, MbL is gonna die. So MbL definitely needs those walls behind. For now, he's microing the villagers very nicely to make sure that TaToH cannot go through. MbL even getting... Do you see that? That's 2 men saw already. That economy is gonna be absolutely crazy, and there's a forward siege workshop piling up mangonels in here for MbL. So he just wants to be a little bit more aggressive towards TaToH's base. And behind that one have a crazy boom. Wheelbarrow, heavy plow coming in as well. I could even see MbL getting crop rotation, because the first batch of farms will just now start to run out. So before you start seeding the second batch, you might as well get crop rotation. Still, the problem that MbL is facing is that his map control is very limited, and now TaToH's gonna find this villager. This is huge. This is huge over here. TaToH won't be able to fight it with the scout, because the scout is low HP, but he can send a couple of cav archers to move in. And that sneaky will is an essential part of MbL's plan here. Forward siege workshop coming in here for TaToH, so he wants to press on with this one as he adds 2 more TCs back at home for a total of 3 as well. MbL has 1 army, 53 eco, much better economy than his opponent has, as that's a university for guard tower, most likely for MbL. So he's gonna play guard tower defense, and yeah, this villager is dead. This villager is omega dead. So yeah, this push here isn't really going to materialize, and in general I'm not 100% convinced in the Monk plus Mangonel play. Still, if you think about it, 4-5 Scorpions and multiple Mangonels, plus Monks to convert the Knights that will be sent to destroy the siege weapons, could be a devastating force here for MbL. And remember that he doesn't need to actually do a lot of damage, he just needs to boom behind this one. Still, time is ticking for him, or clock is ticking, because he's got very, very limited map control here. And that's going to be a concern in the next 10 minutes or so. So, it is Mangonels and Scorpions for MbL here. He wants to wait until he pops them out. Let's see what TaToH reacts. TaToH's best reaction would be to have a Siege Workshop to defend, but Knights are also right if he can pick off the Monks with Cav Archers. It depends on the micro here. If TaToH cannot pick off the Monks, then MbL will just convert the Knights and use the Scorpions to destroy the Cav Archers. Anyways, here comes the push. And with MbL having a university, he should be able to afford Guard Tower in a matter of moments. Now, MbL may be underestimating this push here because that house is almost broken through. This is a TaToH's Mangonel with heal bonus, by the way. So, it does an awful lot of damage. Look at this. It's just annihilating that tower, and TaToH is preparing for this. TaToH knows exactly that this house is weak. I think TaToH feels the blood in the water. Because he's gonna wait. He's gonna destroy the tower, and he's gonna wait until he can actually clean this one up. Here comes the big fight. Cav Archers moving to snipe the Monks. They will be able to do so. This is a disaster here for MbL. And, oh, now there is a Monk here to convert the Knight. So it may not be completely over, but this is exactly what MbL needed to avoid. Letting his siege weapons being destroyed by Knights and the Monks getting picked off by Cav Archers. MbL tries to expand, but as I said, he's got no map control here. And even though TaToH's economy is much worse than MbL's is, MbL will have no resources to work with. As the Cav Archers will loop around, try to snipe Monks, and the Knight will try to dive on the Scorpions. Kill advantage would also be on the side of TaToH here with the Knight, which helps quite a bit. One Monk goes down. Many Cav Archers bite the dust though, so the cost efficiency wasn't really there. But still, the siege weapons being destroyed here is completely fine for TaToH because, as I said, there is now a breach on MbL's walls. Soon there will be an even bigger breach, so now TaToH can definitely just add a couple more Cav Archers and move out, run into MbL's base and keep killing vills. Defensive castle coming in here for MbL, as TaToH is still busy with just dealing with this aggression here right now, and that's exactly why MbL needed this. TaToH needs to be distracted so MbL can just boom for free. But as I said, if TaToH has 10 Cav Archers here and he sends them into MbL's base, MbL's gonna struggle really badly. And someone on the chat was asking how Custoliers do against Cav Archers. You're gonna get your answer soon, I guess. And as things stand, those Cav Archers don't really have amazing upgrades. They are missing ballistics, which is a big deal. So the Custoliers could technically have the upper hand in this one. As Husbandry is just now coming in, TaToH's gonna have to switch back to way more Cav Archers. But this might be just enough for MbL to secure a bit of a map control. And that's exactly what MbL needs. Just always a bit more map control, so that he can actually capitalize on his economical advantage. Because currently the only thing that is bottlenecking him from winning the game is not having map control. So now a couple of Custoliers are coming in. Monk for TaToH will probably get picked off here by the Custoliers, as indeed here it goes. But MbL's army is still not convincing me, and if TaToH just goes for full Cav Archers, he could definitely steamroll MbL here. In fact, this is a tough spot to defend for MbL because you are up against two Mangonels from TaToH's. So those TaToH Mangonels will do an awful lot of damage. Here come the Custoliers when they're excellent at just diving in and sniping siege weapons. Nice move from MbL to finish that siege workshop, but TaToH's just gonna take the hill and fire down hills. That's the brutal thing here, that this siege workshop will not stay up for long. You see that it's losing HP dramatically. MbL is gonna have to commit a lot of villagers and a lot of wood to repair this one if he ever wants to keep that one alive. Couple of Custodians coming in here for raid. They do have +2 defense. But TaToH could add a couple of camos, and that would probably be the right thing to do. Just add a couple of defensive camos against the Custodians, and just keep on pressing the base of MbL. A Mangonel pops out for TaToH, and oh, look at that. Look at that. Beautiful delete trick there from MbL, firing up hills, destroying the Mangonel of TaToH over there. Meanwhile, he's also coming in for raiding, and I feel like if TaToH's push here stalls out, MbL's gonna snowball the game with the better economy he has. TaToH only has 4 on gold right now. He has ballistics now, so his cav archers are starting to become a factor. But he still needs to sort of start being able to kill eco from MbL, otherwise he will just fall behind. This is why I said that camo defense could make some sense, and then just you press on with the cav archers. Speaking of those cav archers, as I said, you could dive into MbL's base here. Camping here with the cav archers would cause a lot of problems for MbL, who's expanding to the right side right now. Nice quick wall from TaToH over there to trap the Custodians, and that means that all of them are going down. I see quite a few light cav being added by MbL, probably because he was scared that he was gonna run out of gold here. But light cav with Burgundians is obviously far from ideal. Still, MbL's handcart, 2 Menso, heavy blow, insane economy here for him. But pushing off Tatars from this hill is gonna be absolutely problematic for him. Especially with the unit composition he has. Like, sure enough, Custodians are nice, but at this point, MbL just doesn't have the unit composition to beat cav archers. That's the problem that he's facing. Especially not cav archers that have the Tatar hill bonus. Ballistics coming in for MbL, he's going skirms. But skirms is just a sad thing to do here, as this fight is not ideal for TaToH, but he's gonna have to take it because he needs that castle up. Nice choke point now that he finds. And now he has to focus down the Custodians, otherwise he's gonna lose more cav archers than what he wants to. And there's a chance that this castle isn't going up here. There is a very, very possible chance that this is not going up here, as more cav archers appear to reinforce the battlefield. Still, a couple more Custodians are causing chaos inside the eco of TaToH, as he's behind by none less than 46 vills. But it's going to be a battle of better unit composition. Oh, the castle foundation again for MbL. Uh-oh, MbL. This castle foundation once again is very, very weak. It looks like it's not gonna go down just yet, but that was once again a massive risk taken by MbL as the light cav come in here to raid. TaToH desperately needs some camos himself to deal with this one, or Vos, or anything that deals with light cavalry. Because the problem that he's facing is that cav archers need to be kept in one group, as some Kashyyyk will be mixed in here by TaToH. Neither of the players are imping, by the way. So as the elite scrum numbers start to pile up, Kashyyyk will hit the field. Economy is still massive, massive for MbL. But his map control is not amazing, and TaToH has 4 relics behind this one, so let's keep that in mind for the time being. 50 villagers deficit is nothing to overlook, but I feel like we're getting closer and closer to what's gonna be a Flemish revolution eventually. Because MbL will not have the unit composition to beat cav archers, Flemrev might be his only choice, and with such a nearly over boom, that might be his way to try and win this game. He's making petards, so he wants to rush this castle down here. TaToH is not doing that. Now, if TaToH focuses down the petards, it's going to be impossible for MbL to take this castle down. But there's a chance that this ram is just going to be here to absorb arrow fire, and then the petards will be able to connect. Once again, a raid comes in here. So far, TaToH has lost way more vills than MbL did. So here comes the push. Kashyyyk, oh look at this. Look at this from TaToH. He's hopping out of the castle with Kashyyyk, and then hopping back in when the enemies get close. That's so good, and here comes the petard push. TaToH focusing down the petards, that's not happening. That's not happening for MbL, and that is a massive amount of resources going down the drain there for him. Still, TaToH doesn't really have a direct answer to elite skirms right now other than his mobility. And because of that, he needs this castle for Kashyyyk production. One thing that TaToH could still do is use his Cav Archers to raid the base of MbL. Like, if TaToH finds this here, MbL's economy is going to completely collapse. The problem that TaToH is facing is that he's not finding it, and in general, MbL is the one forcing the engagements here as more stables come up. He just keeps raiding and raiding around TaToH's base, and TaToH is just unable to sort of move out here. MbL is just flooding him with every single unit that's possible. TaToH is behind by 60 population, and this is exactly what you need to do. You need to overrun the Tar player with cavalry before the Cav Archer numbers grow high. I think that really the best thing that TaToH could do right now is use these Cav Archers and find this. If he finds this, MbL is going to lose a lot of vills and there's a chance for TaToH. Without that, there is just none, because he just keeps getting flooded. I did mention that I think Camos should have been an addition a long time ago for TaToH. He's very, very resilient just staying with the Cav Archers, but even just a handful of Camos would make life much easier for TaToH here, as that is a huge amount of Rams coming in here for MbL. One of the closest sets I have seen in a long, long time, and it seems like we could be going to game number 5 in this one, because this castle is going down from TaToH. He's just getting flooded with units, and he just doesn't have the answer to a massive flood of light cavalry, which is disturbing for him, I would say, considering that this is not even Bloodlines light cavalry, because they're only Burgundians. So here come the Cav Archers. There may still be a hope for TaToH, as I said. As long as this is such exposed eco for MbL, losing 30 vills there would be an absolute disaster. Still, TaToH is without a castle right now, and he's losing the hill, which is part of the advantages of Tatars on this map. Looks like MbL will keep track of this army over here with the skirms. But this is the mobility advantage that Tatars need to use a little bit more. And eventually, if we get to Light Cav versus Light Cav, Tatars will like that. MbL will come in for the defensive towers, and it looks like these skirms will be enough to hold here. TaToH needs to make a decision to just kill vills or fight this one, but he needs to make up his mind. TaToH coming in with a huge amount of light cavalry as he is housed at 150. MbL is pop-capped. By the way, it's a 45 minutes game, no Imperial on the horizon from either player, random sheep in the middle being taken by TaToH. MbL is out of gold, by the way. MbL is completely out of gold, so chances are TaToH might edge this out here, because I'm seeing the army numbers getting closer and closer, and while TaToH doesn't have good upgrades on those light cavalry, he has bloodlines, and that's not something that his opponent has. So, considering that MbL is out of gold, he might actually feel like, oh boy, I could be in trouble here. Still, TaToH's economy is collapsing entirely, and that is because, as I said, he can't use his mobility advantage, and indeed, MbL takes this game over here. This was one of the most awkward games I've ever seen. This map is everything but a booming map. It is a very open, supposed to be very aggressive map over here. MbL went for full walls, Burgundian Drushfast castle straight, like full boom. Full boom. TaToH went for straight fast castle Cav Archers. And we ended up with a very, very chaotic game where it was just a never-ending flood of light cavalry and close-to-leers from MbL. Oh, this set is actually amazing. When I looked at this matchup, I was like, oh yeah, this could be an interesting one, this could be a balanced set, but I didn't think it was gonna be this insane. This is absolutely a crazy set so far. And going back in time, remember when TaToH didn't commit against this hole here? Because there was a hole eventually with the mangonels. He was busy chasing down those siege weapons back at home with the Cav Archers. Maybe if he just sends in his Cav Archers and kills MbL's like 20 vills here, that could have been different. But TaToH never really had an answer to raids, that's their thing. In such an open map, he got raided to death, 77 vills lost. Whereas he only killed 21. He was never able to damage MbL's eco very heavily, because MbL was sitting behind walls, whereas TaToH wasn't. Even just partial walls, like let's say walls over here, could have been helpful for TaToH, but it wasn't there, and he just got raided to death eventually. And with that, Both players have won all their home maps so far, and we're going to one of the best maps of TaToH though. That is Golden Swamp. And Golden Swamp is a map that MbL doesn't really like that much, and TaToH loves it. It's gonna be a Portuguese versus Byzantines matchup in this one. So, here it is. Let's see if we have a game or not, but this is definitely an amazing set. Very, very good so far. And one of these players will have to exit the tournament. Based on what we have seen from both players so far, I think both of them would deserve to advance. But, well, only one of them will to the quarterfinals later this week. The quarterfinals opponent would be the winner of Winchester versus Villas. Wait, no, I'm wrong. It would be Mr. Yo. Mr. Yo would be the opponent of the winner here, which is definitely going to be a tough one, to be honest. So, let's see. It looks like the players are going to take a half-a-minute restroom break because obviously they want to prepare for the next game in this one. So, Byzantines versus Portuguese, interesting, I would say. There's a lot of diversity, there's a lot of flexibility involved playing this map, so I'm not sure what to think about the possible strategies here, because it depends on how much the players prioritize water, how successful they are with any kind of early land aggression. So there's a lot of variables here that kind of make it difficult to predict the outcome of a Golden Swamp game. MbL and TaToH remaining with Portuguese and Byzantines. So, in terms of being able to control the water early, I would say Byzantines is something that's going to have a nice advantage. And a big deal could be late game here. Because Byzantines are very, very good at defending certain positions. They have bombard cannons, they have very high HP buildings. So, TaToH's game plan might be built around the fact that he wants to control the middle in late game. That Baker, thank you so much for the raid. I appreciate it. Welcome everyone from your stream. Thank you, thank you. We're casting TaToH over MbL, an absolutely crazy set over here. Very, very good one with super enjoyable games. Some of the best I've seen in a long, 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 long time. So, it looks like we're gonna have to wait until TaToH returns, as he's the one taking the short break over here. So, Collection Cup, by the way, as I said, shout out to Locoser, who's a Spanish caster. He's casting on YouTube. He's the one hosting this event with $2,500 prize pool, sponsored by a digital collectible card distributor that's doing Age of Empires related cards now. So that's the sort of source of this sponsorship. And the tournament, I think, is going to end this week. So this is still the round of 16th. But later this week, I think we're going to have the quarterfinals. And then you have semis and the grand finals, I would assume, on the weekend. Alright, they're launching game right now. Portuguese versus Byzantines, Golden Swamp. So let's go see the conclusion of this set. So far, every player has won their own respective home maps. So MbL won both of his, Serengeti and Kilimanjaro, and TaToH has won his only home map that has been played so far, Mediterranean, plus he won Arabia. That's how our scoreline shapes out. We're going to have MbL on the left side in yellow Portuguese, and on the right side, it is going to be Byzantines for TaToH in red, with two very much forward boars. Let's see if MbL is gonna pull the trigger on the laming attempt. MbL's also got forward boars over here, and now that I look at TaToH's map, I have to say that this is the absolute dream on this map. Just look at the gold mine spawns. Can you ask for anything better than this? Easy wall off on the right side, on the left side, and 3 deposits of gold all at the back. Obviously they're close to each other, so if you lose one of them, you lose all of them basically. But I have to say that if you can just wall this one off, this is super safe. And oftentimes on Golden Swamp you have a forward gold, which is problematic because Vorgalis can deny that. So taking that into consideration as well, this is an absolute dream for TaToH. Meanwhile, on the other side, MbL's map is not that bad either, to be honest. In fact, it's somewhat comparable. The stones are a little bit more exposed. But this gold is nice, this gold is nice, this gold is nice as well when you wall it off here. So both players have super well defendable maps here to start off with. Relic spawns are also weird. There is one in the far left corner that's easy for MbL to pick up, one close to TaToH's base, and 2 are on the right side of the pond, and 1 always spawns in the middle island. That's a preset thing. So, on this map you have a huge amount of water buffaloes to work with, plus pushable hunt, so fast castles aren't really uncommon, because you don't really need to commit a lot to farming. On this map you have a huge amount of water buffaloes to work with, and each water buffalo is 150 food compared to sheep, which is 100 only, so it makes quite a lot of sense to try a fast castle in many cases on this map. MbL is gonna open 4 on wood, and for TaToH that's the same as well. And it looks like MbL might be thinking about docking here. Now, one thing to know about this map is that TaToH is very, very good on deciding upon strategies in this one. So, TaToH is just extremely good at the thought process element of the gameplay on this map. In terms of execution, the two players seem to be fairly even, but game plan wise, TaToH is probably one step ahead compared to MbL on this map. It looks like MbL will not actually go for a dock here. That's going to be a barracks, which means that he's once again going to do a pre-milled rush into probably fast castle. TaToH has the same idea over here, already going for the walls on the right side. So I don't think that those rushes will accomplish anything other than canceling each other in this one. So for now, MbL is going to be pushing deer, as TaToH already pushed in all but one of his deers, as TaToH is going to do a bit of a scouting, and TaToH might find some of that water buffalo group. Oh, that's so unlucky for TaToH. He sees the barracks, and he was very close to finding those water buffaloes. MbL didn't scout them, or well, he did see them, but he never actually picked them up, and now he's gonna send out his scout to do that, because he knows exactly that TaToH could be taking at any moment if he doesn't do that. And what is MbL up to? There is a forward villager coming in here, which is definitely awkward at minimum, as here comes TaToH with his own militias as well. A lame could be an idea, but it's too late for a lame. I don't think that this was intended to be a lame at all. A forward dock might make a little bit more sense, but do you know what this could be? This could be a sneaky will. Because you cannot send a villager through the pond. Yeah, look at this. MbL has even gotten loom. TaToH doesn't have loom right now, right? That has to be a sneaky villager, because otherwise you wouldn't be getting loom. The idea probably is that you don't, or you can't actually send the forward villager easily in feudal age if your opponent is a full HP scout, because a feudal scout would kill a villager with loom. So I guess MbL is sending an early villa here, so that it is guaranteed to arrive, and then it's just gonna chill there. And we're probably gonna have the same strategy that we had before in the Kilimanjaro game. Forward siege workshop monastery, and they just probably boom behind it. Although I wouldn't actually consider it as a very sneaky villager when you just place a house right next to your opponent's base. Anyways, the two rushes miss each other, which means that there is damage potential on either side. For example, TaToH could take two of these huntables here with the militias. Let's see if he does that. Nope. Not yet. So it looks like the Sneaky will continue its journey as MbL technically sees the barracks. No! MbL didn't see the barracks. MbL has no idea about the drush. He missed out on the barracks by just a tile, and that's why he wasn't even looking for the drush. He can say he's very, very lucky that he has Loom right now. If he didn't have Loom, this would be a disaster, and that's a one villager down, courtesy of the drush from TaToH. The value is definitely there. Oh my goodness, that's a disaster for MbL. It very much seems like he wasn't expecting the drush over here, and he got completely off guard by that. Now he has to scramble for a new wood line over here, and this is going to delay whatever plans he had, whereas for TaToH, so far he's just conveniently sitting behind his walls, and he's gonna be all super duper happy. In this one, TaToH is also pretty heavy on gold in this one, goes for 28 vills even. 28 vills is pretty late for a fast castle. Even though it's Byzantines, you don't have an eco bonus. Could this possibly be a fast imp from TaToH? It would be an awkward way of doing it, but... Oh wait, it's Drush FC. Never mind. He made a Drush, so 28 vills is completely fine for a Drush fast castle. I forgot about the Drush. He actually manages to pick off another vill here. Yeah, you were right. I forgot about the Drush. It's totally my fault. Without the Drush, 28 would be very late for an FC. But Drush Fast Castle 28 vills with a Civ that has no Dark Age Eco bonus is completely fine. Why is the KD 2-1? It is because TaToH lost his scout here. MbL, on the other hand, he also went for Drush Fast Castle here. So we will see about that. The reason why he's at 32 eco going up is because he also had a couple of fishing ships, but these fishing ships can be easily denied by the militias. So I am really unsure how much effect these fishing ships will have, to be honest. Because you see that this is actually just not gonna work. Those fishing ships will pretty much be idle for the majority of the time. And, oh, look at this. TaToH pops out a Spearman. MbL wanted the forward dock over here, and he is gonna try to spam the click button on that dock. He's gonna get that dock up. So MbL wants to do some fishing as the militias from our yellow player come back to clean this aggression up. That's where MbL is going. He wants to do some fishing, he wants to get some galleys out most likely, but you see TaToH is already going into Castle Age. And TaToH is already docking here. TaToH is gonna have fire galleys or fire ships soon, and we'll just clean that one up really easily. The reason why I think MbL has a dock here is because he wants to prevent his opponent from docking here. So currently I don't think MbL knows that TaToH is gonna have docks out. But this is nice map awareness and overall awareness from TaToH that he's going for a docks over here. So I don't think that TaToH knows, or MbL knows that TaToH has docks up there. MbL is getting ready to click up as well. It's a market and probably blacksmith fast castle. And that means that we're just going to see ships from MbL, no combat units. Spearmen also have bonus damage against ships, so this Spearman is actually pretty efficient at poking down fishing ships here. You see, one hit does 12 damage. So it does have a huge amount of damage bonus, in fact, against ships. And with Byzantine cheaper spears, that's definitely an efficient way of dealing with fishing ships. Here come the fire galleys. MbL is gonna have to make his own fire galleys, which will have some more HP because it's Portuguese fire galley, but TaToH is gonna be up to Castle Age a lot faster, and he's gonna have the faster attacking Byzantine fire galleys here. So TaToH has a stable up as well, which means that he could pop out a couple of knights if he has the food for it, although it doesn't seem like he does. And for now, it's just gonna be fire galleys from him keeping pushing MbL's fishing eco. MbL's finishing his wars just now. Now, considering that he has just given up on his 2 stone mines, I'm not really a big fan of this. I would have preferred the walls to span a little bit more to the outside, so like here and then here could make a little bit more sense. But he probably didn't feel confident controlling that part of the map, so he went for the safer walls. But this way, he gives up on his stone. War galleys in for TaToH, which means that his fire galleys will be upgraded to fire ships. As Iceton, thank you so much for the 2nd month of support. I appreciate it a lot. So, MbL's fishing eco is just a distant dream now. He's going to lose it. And now TaToH is going to start cleaning up the docks. It very much seems like MbL's investment into water isn't really going to pay off. He has gotten some value out of that, but not an awful lot. Do Byzantine Fires win against Portuguese? Yes, they do. Shouldn't TaToH have opened galleys since he was so far ahead? Not necessarily, because he wasn't able to get the War Galley upgrade and doesn't have a blacksmith, I believe, for fletching. So those galleys would have been without fletching, which means that he would have been just destroyed by a couple of fire galleys anyways. Now that is an MbL level boom over here. When in doubt, just boom. 3 TCs being added by MbL, going for a monastery as well for the relics, as the scouts will scuffle on the north. Who's gonna have the edge? It looks like TaToH is the one bailing out of this one, but he just wants to lure that scout to the water. Eco villagers after 07 KD, it's fishing ships. The fishing ships basically show as excess eco here for MbL. That's why the even villager count is there despite TaToH killing 7 eco. That is because you have 7 fishing ships for MbL that went down. And those wouldn't actually... You know, TaToH never had fishing ships, so the land villager count was always even. It was the fishing ship count that made it different. So now MbL is gonna have to do all the big booming in the world, and he can actually surprisingly make all 4 TCs work over here. Oh yeah, TaToH took 2 villas in the Drosh, true. That's absolutely true. But I think MbL in exchange had the new TCs up a little faster. Anyways, TaToH cleans up the water, so he's gonna have the entire water control. 3 TCs for him right now. And MbL is gonna be booming on 4 for the time being. Heals up his scout as well like a proper arena clown would. And then goes back to start picking up relics as well. Speaking of relics, is TaToH gonna start doing that? He has a monastery, so it very much seems like it. And in fact, TaToH's adding scouts. Now, this is an interesting situation because this turned into an arena game. Like, this is exactly what you would see on Arena. Free 4TC booms with scouts and monks. This is exactly what TaToH is doing. Booming and then sending out scouts to control the relics, sending monks to pick up the relics. And that's it. There is a lot of difference between Mediterranean and this map, so yeah, true, both of them have pond in the middle, but this pond is walkable, so it's amphibious terrain. You have the majority of the gold in the middle. The pond is smaller and there is much more space on the outside. There is no neutral gold, for example, on the outside, so there's a lot of differences between this map and Medi. As we're gonna have MbL being able to edge this scout fight out once again. TC number 5 coming in here for our yellow player. That was only on free TC, so that is why he is falling behind in economy. But keep in mind that booming is a nice thing, but not necessarily when your opponent could just go for an early Imperial and beat you with Arbs. And keep that in mind. It's very possible that what we would see from TaToH is that he's just gonna use the map control he has right now with the knights, the war galley, the fire ships. He is working towards a castle or at minimum a TC in the middle. I would love to see TaToH teasing the middle right now with the map control he has, and then just working towards an early imp with Byzantines, starting to go for a couple of bombard cannons and arbalests, and just steamrolling MbL, because I think that's a good plan here for TaToH. For now, it's one relic for each player, as TaToH will pick off a monk here on the right side. TaToH has control over the relic in the middle, and it very much seems like TaToH's going to be sitting on 4 relics here. As the war galleys move in, they could intercept some monks here, and once again, look at TaToH. This is something he has done before, sending in the units as close as possible before shooting, because that guarantees kill, basically. If you were starting to shoot from this distance, the monks would run away. But by closing the distance, you allow yourself to kill that monk from much closer distance and lower the chance of your opponent being able to escape. Light cav even coming in for TaToH. As I said, this is just like an arena game. You're going light cav, you're going monks to pick up relics, and now we have some war galleys, which is not something that you have in arena though. Luki, thank you so much for the Prime sub, I appreciate it, welcome back for the 4th month. Thank you, thank you. Here comes a castle from MbL. TaToH has a couple of war galleys here, but not even Botkin arrow on them. Even fletching is missing, so they can't even range these villas in here, which means that the castle is definitely going up. A conversion occurs here, so that's gonna be one war galley down for TaToH. Ecos, slightly better for MbL, but TaToH is getting closer to Imperial. The problem is that TaToH is taking quite a lot of time to get into Imperial as well, which means that MbL is just going to be able to have a comparable imp timing, because despite the fact that Byzantines have cheaper Imperial Age, the opponent, MbL, has a better economy, so it takes about the same time for TaToH to gather the lower amount of resources needed than it takes for MbL to gather the higher amount of resources. And in fact, MbL is the first one to click up to Imperial here. There's the 5th TC from TaToH as well in the middle to secure the control over the middle. And then TaToH needs a castle there. If he gets a castle up, things will be a little bit more problematic for MbL here. The theme of this series has been TaToH faster to aggression, but MbL faster to boom. Which style will suit this map? I think there's so many variables on this map that it's extremely hard to judge. I would say boom might actually be better, but it depends on what the aggressive player does. So, MbL coming in here with the docks, TaToH trying to deny and delay that as much as possible as TaToH just now clicks up. What TaToH needs is a castle here, because this would control this area of the pond, and it would make it much harder for MbL to use his combat ships here. MbL is going Caravals, by the way, but honestly speaking, Caravals is actually a pretty bad idea here, because Caravals struggle against fire ships more than galleons do. They also struggle against demos a little bit more, I believe, and you don't really have a lot of space to maneuver here, so I feel like Caravals here won't really work out, although it depends on the situation. If TaToH has all his ships clustered up, Caravals will dominate. As MbL comes in here with the monks to get a conversion, here's the castle that I was mentioning, and pushing off Byzantines from the middle is going to be an absolute nightmare. These castles will have 7,000 HP in Imperial, and Byzantines can have bombard cannons to snipe down any siege weapons coming close. Portuguese have arquebus available though as an upgrade for their bombard cannons, which could be very helpful. As MbL still has a militia, by the way, that's just scouting the right side of the map, looking for resources. MbL could afford 2 castles, basically, so I think MbL wants to push the middle, like, right away, and then probably forward castle here, and then another forward castle here. That's the plan. He just wants to spam a couple of castles around. I also see Spearman. Now, you could ask why Spearman, but I didn't mention, spears have bonus damage against ships. So, as wacky as it looks like, 15-20 spearmen is actually a factor in these naval battles. Like, at worst, it draws away arrow fire from your caravals, but it's something that, you know, your opponent is gonna have to focus on. Obviously, a single demo would sink all of them, but there is not a single demo right now. From TaToH, that's fast fires coming in from TaToH, though I think he wants to sandwich this fleet from left and right, because he's got a big fleet waiting over here. Castle on the way for MbL. TaToH with the Trebs. Same thing for MbL. TaToH's also going to drop a second castle here to secure the right side of the pond. But MbL will have the castles here. He's going to have 3 castles against 1, which means he can actually just outproduce his opponent in Trebs. And that could be enough. Here come the fast fires though, and you see that Caravels are barely scratching them. Caravels struggle really badly against fast fires, and that's exactly what we're seeing over here. MbL's fleet getting disintegrated here, added to the fact that the fast fires dive in, and the MbL's fleet is gone. Caravels struggle really badly against fast fires, like even more so than Galleons. If MbL had the same amount of Galleons, this would have been a much better fight, but nope. Caravels won't crack it, especially against Byzantine fire ships. So now, Trebs are coming out. This is a very nice defensive position to hold for our Byzantine player, and we know that Byzantines are great at defending. So, from this point on, I feel like this is TaToH's game to lose. He's got the control over the middle. Look at the outposts, by the way, from TaToH. He has a Knight and 2 Light Cav. These are left over from Castle Age to control that stone mine. He's outposting all the outside areas. He has the control over the middle with a castle. He's trapping down the one from MbL here. Everything seems to be pointing in the direction of TaToH right now. Huge amount of pikemen are there for MbL for sure, to deal with the ships, or at least help dealing with them. But currently MbL has no combat ships. He's teching into demos, and a couple of demos could easily swing the battle in his favor, but I think one castle is gonna fall here for MbL for sure. TaToH is sitting on 4 relics as well, so clock is ticking really badly here for MbL. He needs one enormous fight here. Heavy demos, halberdiers, and then push the middle, force the opponent off. Greek fire even coming in for TaToH, which means that he's gonna have the extra range on those fire galleys or fire ships soon. You see that now it's 2.5 plus 1 in here. TaToH is starting to shell the docks over here, so as I said, clock is ticking for MbL here. MbL needs to add additional docks, and that's something that he's doing. We also have a couple of cataphracts popping out here as the demos are coming. The demos are coming for MbL, and he's gonna take down the Trebs to save his castle. That's what matters. He took down 2 Trebs, saves the docks, saves the castles, and buys himself some time. That's the big deal here. And now MbL is the one starting to push up with the Trebs. If he can destroy that castle there, that completely changes the entire scenario, because suddenly he's gonna have a chance to push the middle. TaToH's gonna fall back a little bit, goes for a defensive castle there, as he's also taking into heavy demos. Nice demo shots over there for MbL, and this is what I was talking about. Here come the halberdiers. Halberdiers alone won't be amazing though, because guess what? Cataphracts could eat them. As that's a demo trapped over there. Caravels are popping out, and here come the halberdiers. Let's see how they do against those fast fires, because they will do pretty decently. Obviously the castle fire is gonna help quite a bit here for MbL, but you see that they are actually an acceptable force to work with. MbL's got demos coming from this side. MbL's got demos. Oh, what is he doing? He could have destroyed that entire fleet, and it looks like TaToH is underestimating the power of halberdiers in naval combat. Because even without the demos, MbL just absolutely clapped that force of fire ships. Now here come the demos on the other side, which means that those halberdiers will die pretty fast. But TaToH's castle is now under heavy fire, and it's a Byzantine castle with 7,000 HP almost, but it's 4 traps shelling it and only like 7-8 villagers repairing. So this castle is almost going to die. As I said, MbL is still on a timer, and minor things like these from TaToH are definitely carving out the lead for him. The question is that a big enough lead right now for TaToH? Because the direct push for MbL here is getting better and better. But on the other hand, as I said, such raids, the fact that TaToH has 4 relics, all of those are helping TaToH in this one. Heavy demos coming in once again and sinking the remaining fast fires here. And TaToH is getting pushed off from gold in the middle. Keep in mind, as I said, that on this map, gold control is important, but controlling the middle is important when you run out of gold and your starting base. So, sure enough, TaToH controlled the middle for a long time, as here comes a big push. MbL is unprepared. MbL is unprepared, and those traps will die. Those traps will die. Yep, they will. All of them will. Very nicely done by TaToH. He just bought himself an awful lot of time, and every moment that he buys himself is just insanely important. 4 traps being taken down there is massive amount of value in gold, something that MbL is running short of in a very short amount of time. And also, as I said, precious time has been bought for TaToH to capitalize on the relics, to capitalize on the middle control. And once again, he's going Caravals, but I mentioned this before, Caravals struggles so badly against fire ships. Here come the Halberdiers though to help out. No demos for MbL just yet. Caraval Halberdier might work out for MbL at the end of the day. Heavy demos coming in from all directions for both players. It looks like the connections have been better for MbL though. He's the one sinking the fleet of TaToH here. And it looks like now TaToH is the one that will be forced back a little bit. Some more fire ships coming from the right side though. TaToH is flooding his opponent and he's taking down crucial docks. He's taking down crucial docks here. MbL just doesn't have the fleet for this one. And I feel like once again the Caravals just can't crack it against all those fire ships. And sure enough, the demos are taking down many fire ships here. But the thing is that TaToH sees the blood in the water. He's got the 4 relics, he's got the gold control, and he knows exactly that he just needs to grind down MbL's ship numbers, because MbL will not have gold in a matter of moments. He's consuming his final bits of gold left in his base. With only 1 relic in his possession, I think TaToH is going to continue the tendency of winning the home maps. In this set, every single player has won their respective home maps in an insane set, by the way. But TaToH winning Arabia is going to be the one that could decide the outcome of this set, because now it's looking better and better. I see Catapracts being teched into by TaToH with Elite already on the way. And indeed, MbL is gonna have just one chance here. It's Feitoria time! Now, truth being told, Feitorias will not matter for a long time here. So, sure enough, this gives you infinite resources, but TaToH basically has infinite resources as well. A huge amount of gold in the middle, huge amount of wood under his control, whereas MbL will basically just have the Feitorias. Feitorias only start becoming a factor on maps where you actually run out of resources entirely. That's why Feitorias are so common on islands in long games, because islands run out of resources really fast. Logistica was even teched into as well by TaToH, as those Catapracts will be fully upgraded now. And that's the thing. Oh, TaToH! That's gonna be a big blast. Indeed it is. TaToH is a master of demo ships as well, so he really loves to have these demo snipe attempts for him. Still, Halberdiers are overrunning the fire ships over here. MbL is not ready to give up on this just yet, but I feel like the window is shrinking and shrinking every moment as we speak. As that is gonna be an enormous demo. Oh man, I mean, MbL is trying here, but I feel like it's a little too late now. Halberdier is trying to get into the middle, and that already has fully upgraded elite Catapracts. So Catapracts will just eat all of those Halberdiers there. As I see Rams being teched into by TaToH. But here come the Catapracts, and there is nothing that MbL can do to stop the Catapracts here. Those are pretty scary units overall. They also do area damage now with Logistica. And I think it tells a lot about TaToH's position in this game that he was able to afford Logistica, which is a super expensive upgrade. For Byzantines, Lord Doubt is going to bless us with a castle on the left side for MbL. And you see that MbL is too busy focusing on the middle, so he didn't even notice that this is a Doubt castle right now. But yeah, as long as MbL doesn't have gold control, his chance of winning the game is less than 1%, I would say. And with more and more Rams, soon Siege Rams coming in for TaToH on the left, it looks like our Spanish player is going to march into the quarterfinals here in what was one of the most amazing sets of recent memory. I don't even remember when I casted such an entertaining set. As now MbL is just going mass migration. He's down to 76 wills, and I don't see a single Faitoria. That's the end of the line, I think, for MbL. Even if he somehow controls the middle, he's got no economy now. 73 wills is just way too few. He's trying to get Halberdiers out, but I mean, it's like 20 fully upgraded elite Catapracts with Logistica. So we are gonna have this castle going down over here as TaToH edges out a victory in this absolutely crazy set. What a set this was. Basically 3 hours of gameplay. All of the games were super back and forth. This one was a little bit more one-sided, I would say, but this had its own momentum shifts as well. There were some moments where MbL seemed like he's gonna push TaToH off from the middle. TaToH, way better KD over here in this one, way better economy as well. 21,000 gold over 14,000 over here, and yeah, that's basically the main numbers to look at. Relic gold as well, much better for TaToH here, 2.8k versus just 800 for MbL. Very important on a map that is just built on gold control. And with that, as I said, the decider ended up being the Arabia game. Every single player has won their own respective home maps, TaToH with Golden Swamp and TaToH with Mediterranean, and MbL with Kilimanjaro and Serengeti. Arabia game where MbL felt a little rusty in that first game. It ends up being his demise in this one. Still, very entertaining set over here as TaToH moves on to the quarterfinals to face Mr. Yo.